The battle continues. However, in Konoha, a battle is about to happen. Orochimaru, following Naruto's instructions, sneaked into the empty Konoha village. Most of the good players in the village have gone out. After all, it is Konoha's small country's ninja village against the entire ninja world. Although it is possible to crush them in terms of strength, after all, there are so many small countries, and if they do not have enough manpower, they cannot crush them at the same time. Therefore, at this time, Konoha village is extremely empty. If it were before, Orochimaru would definitely take this opportunity to cause a scene. It's a pity that he doesn't dare to do it now that someone is watching. One finger bone should be enough. Orochimaru carefully removed a small phalanx and closed the coffin. This is the grave of Uzumaki Kushina that he found after checking for a long time. Before that, Tien Chi had also collected the impure world reincarnation materials that Konoha needed to obtain. It's time to go to the next place. However, just when Orochimaru was about to leave, he happened to see someone. A person that he hated extremely, his teacher, Sarutobi Hiruzen. What a coincidence. I originally planned to come find you later, but I didn't expect you to appear in front of me. Orochimaru licked his lips excitedly, his eyes filled with bloodlust. Sarutobi Hiruzen just slipped over for a walk. After all, there was nothing else to do in the village recently. But Sarutobi Hiruzen never expected that such a big surprise would appear at this juncture. Orochimaru. What are you doing here? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked sharply, and at the same time used the loudest voice to notify the possible ninjas around him. After all, there are so few ninjas in the village now that even Sarutobi Hiruzen doesn't know how many ninjas there are in the village now. Meeting the apprentice he thought he had the best training at such an unprepared moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally raised his alertness to the limit. He didn't want to fight Orochimaru alone. However, no one responded and no one showed up. It was as if there were only the two of them here. HMPH, it's useless, Sarutobi-sensei. There is a layer of barrier around it, which will prevent the sound from spreading out. I was just trying to make sure the noise from my side didn't attract anyone else's attention. But I didn't expect that it would become a cage to imprison you. Orochimaru looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen excitedly. You can't escape, Sarutobi-sensei, because you are surrounded. As he said this, the snake made several seals on his hands. Suddenly, several coffins appeared on the ground, surrounding Sarutobi Hiruzen and Orochimaru. What's this? Sarutobi Hiruzen has never seen reanimation jutsu, but he just felt something bad coming from these coffins. But when these coffins were opened automatically, Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression suddenly became extremely horrified. Why is it them? They are all dead. Having been in the office for decades, Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally knows a lot of people. And the people in these coffins in front of him happened to be people he knew. For example, 3rd Raikage, 2nd Tsuchikage, 2nd Mizukage, 4th Mizukage, etc. These are the shadows of a village, and Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally knows how terrifying they are. If he faced these people at the same time, he would never be his opponent. You must escape. Take advantage of the moment when they seem unable to move. Get away from here. However, just as Sarutobi Hiruzen turned around, the ground shook again, and a coffin appeared in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen. On this coffin, there is a number 4 carved on it. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know why, but he soon figured it out. Because after opening the coffin, he still saw familiar faces. Moreover, they are from Konoha, 4th Hokage, Namikaze Minato. I told you, Sarutobi-sensei, you can't run away. It just so happens that the value of your existence is gone, and it's time for you to leave this stage and give way to young people. Orochimaru had a sinister smile on his face, full of eagerness. As he activates, all impure world reincarnation bodies open their eyes. However, there is no emotion at all in their pupils. In order to ensure that Sarutobi Hiruzen can be effectively killed, Orochimaru completely controls their actions, forcing them to act according to his own actions. Especially Namikaze Minato, if not controlled, may not attack Sarutobi Hiruzen. The moment they opened their eyes, they took action one after another. He quickly surrounded Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen now knows that if he wants to escape, he can only break out from the siege of these people. But this is not easy. Just trying to escape from Namikaze Minato's Flying Thunder God technique is already impossible. However, although he could not defeat these people, Sarutobi Hiruzen was not without hope of escape. As long as Orochimaru can be killed, Sarutobi Hiruzen believes that this weird ninjutsu will be automatically lifted. This way he can survive. Therefore, Sarutobi Hiruzen decisively used the summoning technique to summon his old friend, the monkey demon. When the ape demon saw this battle, he almost returned to where he was. Facing so many powerful opponents at once, if you are not careful, you will be just a corpse when you return. The monkey demon didn't want to die with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Fortunately, Sarutobi Hiruzen issued the order at the critical moment, so that the monkey demon did not go back immediately. Samura demon, you hold these people for some time, and I will get rid of Orochimaru as soon as possible. Only in this way can we survive. After saying that, without waiting for the monkey demon to answer, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly turned around and rushed towards Orochimaru. As soon as he moved, the impure world reincarnation immediately followed suit. Besieged them very quickly. When the ape demon saw this battle, his heartbeat suddenly accelerated. Is this an opponent I can withstand? He complained a lot, but the monkey demon still didn't abandon Sarutobi Hiruzen and leave. After all, they are old friends for decades, and the ape demon would not do such a thing. At least, he will not abandon Sarutobi Hiruzen until it is confirmed that the true cannot be resisted. Hateful. Orochimaru looked panicked, as if he didn't expect Sarutobi Hiruzen to come straight to him. However, the moment Sarutobi Hiruzen approached, the panic on Orochimaru's face disappeared and was replaced by a sinister smile. You're here just in time, Teacher Yuanfei. As he spoke, a large number of Lion Majesty emerged from his sleeves and rushed towards Sarutobi Hiruzen. Fire-style Fire Dragon Bullet. Sarutobi Hiruzen quickly formed a seal, and then spit out a fire dragon from his mouth. The fire dragon immediately pounced on all the Lion Majesty and burned them to charcoal, and pounced on Orochimaru with unabated force. Boom. Orochimaru was thrown forward, and his entire body was wrapped in fierce flames. Orochimaru let out a miserable scream. Seeing Orochimaru gradually being burned to ashes, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not relax at all. Not only because the cage around him did not disappear, but also because he knew that his apprentice Orochimaru would not die because of such an attack. Really, under the vigilance of Sarutobi Hiruzen, he escaped the sneak attack of Orochimaru behind him at the critical moment. It's really sharp, but so what? Orochimaru didn't care at all. After all, he is not fighting alone. Before he sneak attacked Sarutobi Hiruzen, he had already separated 4 clones and created 4 purple flame formations in the 4 corners to imprison Sarutobi Hiruzen. Of course, being locked up together are also the past cage from Orochimaru Impure World Reincarnation. As for the noise caused by the battle, it will be blocked by Orochimaru's soundproof barrier, and no noise can be heard from outside. Unless someone walks in by mistake like Sarutobi Hiruzen, no one can save Sarutobi Hiruzen. You will die here today. It just so happens that you are blocking Naruto's way anyway. There must be many people who want you to die. Orochimaru said with a sinister look on his face. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but despair when he heard this. No. Impossible. Naruto, he would never do such a thing. I'm still waiting for him to come back. When he comes back, I will personally hand over the position of Hokage to him. You can't do this. However, no matter how much Sarutobi Hiruzen screams, he still cannot get rid of his current lifeless situation. Although many people call him the strongest Hokage, in terms of actual combat effectiveness, Sarutobi Hiruzen cannot live up to this title at all. At least Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't fight against several cage opponents at the same time. Even when Sarutobi Hiruzen was young. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Unlike other Hokages, who were able to fight against several cages at the same time at their peak, especially those like the first Hokage who faced more than just a few cages. Orochimaru stood outside the 4 purple flame formation and watched with cold eyes, watching the past cages from his Impure World Reincarnation launch a righteous siege on Sarutobi Hiruzen. Finally, Sarutobi Hiruzen still fell to the ground with wounds all over his body. Seeing that Sarutobi Hiruzen was exhausted and had no resistance at all, Orochimaru unlocked the 4 purple flame formation. I've been waiting for this day for a long time, Sarutobi-sensei. Orochimaru came up excitedly and whispered. Fate Hiruzen's blood-covered face raised slightly, but he had no energy to say anything. Around him, the intact shadows of all generations of the village surrounded him. Once Sarutobi Hiruzen wants to resist, they will take action to suppress Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately. Orochimaru said excitedly. From the moment I defected from the village, I plan to come back and return all the pain you inflicted on me to you. Ever since Naruto showed up, I thought I would never have another chance like this. But I didn't expect you to appear in front of me so suddenly, leaving me defenseless. Fortunately, I am always prepared. Are you satisfied with the surprise I have prepared for you? Sarutobi Hiruzen struggled and said, Wu will for. Orochimaru lowered his head, listened carefully, and then said funny. Naruto will avenge you? Are you too fanciful? Do you know whose instructions I got when I came here? It's exactly what you expected, Naruto. I guess he had already expected that I would meet you, and he also knew the anger I felt towards you, so he gave me this rare opportunity. Orochimaru looked at the dying Sarutobi Hiruzen and knew that if he didn't do anything, Sarutobi Hiruzen would also die. He whispered. When I left the village, I didn't hate anyone except myself. Obviously, when I was conducting research with Danzo, I got your approval. What's the result? In order to prevent you from being implicated after my affair was exposed, you actually took the initiative and treated me as a sinner who violated the village's regulations and wanted to eradicate me. Obviously you approved of everything. Orochimaru roared crazily. He also doesn't need to worry about drawing attention to himself. There is a soundproof barrier blocking it, so the solid matter will not be transmitted out. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes gradually dimmed, and his pupils expanded little by little. Life is disappearing. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen had no chance to defend himself. But what can he say in defense? Because everything Orochimaru said is true. Orochimaru's alliance with Danzo is the result of his connivance. If the behavior of the two people hadn't gradually gone beyond his control, he wouldn't have made that decision. But unfortunately, there is no regret medicine in the world. You can only swallow the bitter consequences of your own actions. Orochimaru gasped for breath, then straightened his back slowly and said. Exactly, this is the purpose of the village. You will save some time if you die here. When you get down there, remember to apologize to those who were killed by you. As Orochimaru finished speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes also became completely dim. Sarutobi Hiruzen, a great ninja hero, finally died in the hands of his apprentice. Perhaps this is his own fault. If he hadn't been greedy for the position of Hokage and allowed evil people like Danzo to do evil in the village, I'm afraid he wouldn't have led to the current situation. Now this result can be said to be inevitable. It's just a matter of time. Sarutobi Hiruzen can completely interpret the old saying that good people will not pay for their lives, but harm will last for thousands of years. As the longest-lived Hokage in history, he has almost no penultimate contribution that is famous in the ninja world. On the contrary, there are various operations that are incomprehensible. For example, the behavior of forcing Hitaki Tsukumo to death and causing Konoha to cut off his own arm made people in other villages puzzled. At the beginning, when the ninja villages were still having a headache on how to deal with Hitaki Tsukumo who was killing people in their rear, something happened that shocked them. Hitaki Tsukumo committed suicide. This incident can be said to have caused a sensation in the entire ninja world. It also became a major scandal in Konoha. After investigating and understanding the whole situation, all the ninja villages laughed at Sarutobi Hiruzen's operation. He even wondered if Sarutobi Hiruzen was a spy sent by his village. All of a sudden, they were exposed to a serious problem for them. HMPH. Teacher Sarutobi. I think people like you are not even qualified to be reincarnated by my impure world. Orochimaru said softly, clapped his hands, put the cage of each village back into the coffin, and then left. Come quietly and leave quietly. Also taken away was the life of Sarutobi Hiruzen that no one cared about. It wasn't until Orochimaru left for several hours and the sky became brighter that someone discovered his body that had lost body temperature. Naruto and Uchiha Madara's battle continues until Sarutobi Hiruzen's body is discovered. Because Naruto was not in a hurry, Naruto was even willing to beat him for several days and nights. Anyway, although victory is not easy to come by, as long as Naruto puts his mind to it, he can completely defeat Uchiha Madara in a short time. So Naruto is not in a hurry at all. He just hopes that Uchiha Madara can give him more pressure so that he can improve explosively again. Now in the ninja world, only Uchiha Madara can put him under such pressure. Others simply don't have this possibility. Come on, are you already dying? Naruto said words that no man could accept, clearly sarcastic to Uchiha Madara. How could Uchiha Madara endure it? Wait for me. I'll make you regret it right away. How could Uchiha Madara not know Naruto's plans? Because since the fight, Naruto has only fought back very few times. And it hit him hard every time. If Naruto hadn't pursued the victory, he might have died in Naruto's hands. However, Uchiha Madara did not feel grateful for this, but felt more and more humiliated. Thinking of him, Uchiha Madara, the man who was once known as the god of the ninja world. Now he was bullied to this extent by an 8-year-old boy. If he hadn't gritted his teeth and held on, Uchiha Madara would have thought of committing suicide. It's so humiliating. There is only one belief that supports him to continue. That's the price he paid for it. In order to create a peaceful world, he has sacrificed too much. He never allows himself to fail. Suddenly, the sky once again showed colorful colors. Another sage art attack regardless of losses. Relying on the strength of his chakra, Uchiha Madara completely ignores his chakra loss. It's impossible to run out anyway. The sky is densely covered with a large amount of light, making it difficult to see clearly. It's crazy. Ya couldn't help but marvel. He has said these words countless times. The people next to me also heard it countless times. But they couldn't argue with that. Such a move is indeed crazy. Perhaps the chakra consumed by Uchiha Madara's senjutsu release is the total amount of chakra that an ordinary ninja can use. It can be said that the contrast between the two sides has been completely lost. Uchiha Madara may have the power to destroy the entire ninja world. However, he has no chance of winning in Naruto's hands. Naruto is too strong, Neji said with admiration. Neji is a very proud person, and ordinary people would not admire him to this extent. Perhaps the only person in the entire ninja world who can be recognized by Neji is Naruto. Faced with such a fierce offensive, even I may not be able to withstand it. Naruto is really amazing. Senju Hashirama was also extremely impressed. As the only person present who has ever suppressed Uchiha Madara, Senju Hashirama is very aware of the difference between the Uchiha Madara at this time and the Uchiha Madara he faced before. What a difference. However, such an invincible Uchiha Madara could not match the 8-year-old Naruto. It's simply jaw-dropping. All I can say is that Naruto's talent is too pervert. Even if people see it, they can only marvel, but they cannot catch up. This is simply not something that normal people can catch up with. Perhaps only Sasuke, who is conceited and thinks he is Naruto's opponent, will have the confidence to catch up with Naruto. But in the eyes of others, this is just Sasuke's own fantasy. Want to surpass Naruto? It's simply impossible to do it. The only one who can surpass Naruto is Naruto himself. Because Naruto will not stand still, he will keep moving forward, constantly building stronger areas of strength. Won't stop. The Konoha youngsters who have been training with Naruto know this best. Every time they felt that they were almost there, Naruto always felt that it was not enough and could go further. This is why Naruto is always able to do things that are unimaginable to ordinary people. Naruto is really too persistent. This pure heart of pursuing power is amazing. I don't know, where will Naruto's limit be in the future? Senju Tobirama couldn't help but be curious. After all, Naruto is only 8 years old now, and with Naruto's current physical condition, he can definitely live to be 100 years old without any problems. That means there are still more than 90 years left. After training for Naruto for less than a year, he was already stronger than Uchiha Madara from Sage of Six Paths. Then after decades of practice, what height will it reach? I'm afraid that even if Otsutsuki Kagaya does appear, he probably won't be Naruto's opponent, right? At the beginning, Sage of Six Paths had no choice but to seal Otsutsuki Kagaya because it was unable to eradicate Otsutsuki Kagaya, who was the incarnation of chakra. But if Naruto is given enough time, even if Otsutsuki Kagaya represents the sacred tree and chakra, and has enough immortality, he may not be able to escape death if he falls into Naruto's hands. It can only be said that Naruto's current strength and future potential are too terrifying. Fortunately, Naruto is pursuing an era of peace. Otherwise, I can't imagine what kind of devastation the ninja world will be in the future. Senju Tobirama couldn't help but said. The others thought about what he said and immediately couldn't help but shudder. Really? Just think about it, if Naruto dominates the entire ninja world and uses extremely cruel methods, then the entire ninja world will become a hell of despair. It would be a hopeless world. But, that future will not appear. Because they believe Naruto will lead them to a promising future. They trust Naruto and are willing to bet their future on Naruto. Naruto is worth what they do. Don't worry, Naruto will never let us down. Shikamaru said firmly, then looked at Senju Hashirama. Aren't you planning to go see that giant tree? Why aren't you leaving? Senju Hashirama scratched his head in embarrassment. Aren't you attracted by the movement in the sky? But it's really time to go and see it. It's not very far anyway. With that said, Senju Hashirama's figure disappeared from the place. Although teleportation technique is not Senju Hashirama's specialty. But he is the first Hokage after all, and he is certainly not weaker than others in this regard. I'm going to go take a look and see what kind of world Naruto plans to create. Senju Tobirama also went with him. The battle in the sky is fascinating though. But they were also more curious about the towering tree that appeared in the Kingdom of Wind. Perhaps, that tree holds Naruto's answer to the future. For ordinary people, the distance of several hundred miles is obviously very far. But for Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama, it is obviously not that far away. The two of them were moving forward at full speed, and in less than a moment, they were outside Sunagakure. Standing on the highest sand dune nearby, the two of them looked up at the shocking world tree and couldn't help but sigh. It's a miracle. If I were asked to do it, I don't know if I could do it. Senju Hashirama can clearly feel the strong breath of life coming from this world tree. Moreover, he could still feel the breath of life nourishing the desert under his feet little by little. Maybe it won't be long before this desert will undergo huge changes. Is this what Naruto is going to do? It's really admirable. Senju Hashirama sighed again. But Senju Tobirama doesn't know why, even though the world tree is shocking. But unable to feel the huge life breath of the world tree, Senju Tobirama couldn't empathize with his brother's lament. Although this tree is indeed spectacular, it's not to the point of admiration, right? I feel like if Big Brother uses all his strength, he won't be able to make such a giant tree. But Senju Hashirama shook his head decisively and said, "No, I can't. My wood style doesn't have as much life as Naruto." Senju looked at his brother in confusion. Breath of life? Right. Senju Hashirama nodded. You may not feel it, because you can only see the appearance of the giant tree on the ground, but you don't know how the root system of the giant tree spreads below the ground. Upon hearing this, Senju Tobirama's expression suddenly changed. Then he squatted down, put his hands on the ground, released chakra and began to sense. After a long time, Senju Tobirama raised his head in shock. This is real. Senju Tobirama was extremely shocked by the thousands of meters of height of the giant tree in front of him. But as he went to sense the situation under the ground, he found that it was impossible to find out where the roots of this giant tree spread. In other words, even Senju Tobirama's perception ability cannot clearly understand the distance that the root system of the underground giant tree extends. I'm afraid, it's even more exaggerated than the giant trees on the ground. No wonder, brother said it can't be done. Indeed, at this level, brother Yin, you really can't do it. Naruto, you really can give us enough surprises every time. Senju Hashirama shook his head and said, "You still haven't noticed the most important thing." Senju Tobirama looked at his brother in confusion. What do you mean? Brother, aren't you referring to the exaggerated spread of underground roots? Senju Hashirama shook his head and said, "Of course not, didn't I say that you can't feel the breath of life from this giant tree?" Senju Tobirama frowned slightly. The life force of such a huge tree must be exaggerated. But so what? After all, it's just a tree, just a little too huge. Senju Hashirama smiled, then stretched out his palm and spread his fingers. 5 years at most. Senju Tobirama looked at his brother in confusion. What 5 years? Senju Hashirama said seriously. 5 years from now, this place will become an area as fertile as the Land of Fire, instead of being like a restricted area where life is forbidden to enter, as it is now. What? Senju Tobirama's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. It is simply wishful thinking to turn a desert into a rich area like the Fire Nation in 5 years. However, the eldest brother who said this, Senju Tobirama, knew very well that he would not lie. In other words, according to Senju Hashirama's judgment, this desert will usher in new life in 5 years. But Senju Tobirama's cognition was seriously challenged. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Do you want to make a bet? Senju Hashirama smiled. Anyway, if we want to go back, we can go back at any time. How about we wait 5 years and confirm the situation here before we go back? Senju Tobirama shook his head helplessly. Brother, we are already dead, what can we gamble with? Senju Hashirama suddenly fell silent when he heard this. Indeed, they are no longer qualified to gamble. How about I make a bet? A sudden sound reached their ears. The two of them turned their heads in surprise because they didn't notice when the person appeared. For them, this is simply impossible. However, after seeing the person coming, they were relieved. Naruto. How could you? Wait, you are a clone. Senju Tobirama looked at Naruto, who appeared in front of him in surprise, but he immediately realized that the person in front of him should be Naruto's clone. After all, Naruto's true form was still in a passionate battle with Uchiha Madara hundreds of thousands of miles away. Naruto clone said with a smile. Yes, I am the avatar who manages this area. You can call me No 1001. 1000? Senju Hashirama said in surprise. There are more than 1,000 clones like you? He could clearly feel that the Naruto clone in front of him was very powerful, otherwise it would not have been discovered by them after he made a sound. But No 1001 shook his head and said, no, more than 1,000, we should have 3,000, scattered throughout the ninja world to confirm the situation everywhere. The Senju brothers were even more shocked. Senju Tobirama couldn't help but ask. Are all the clones similar in strength to you? No 1001 nodded and said, that's right. Senju Tobirama suddenly whispered. If so many clones gather chakra on Naruto, Uchiha Madara may not be able to resist it at all. So Naruto has been teasing Uchiha Madara, however, 1001 said. Not entirely, the ontology is also looking for some breakthroughs. Although as you said, the power of all our clones is gathered into the main body, and the strength of the main body will indeed be greatly improved. However, the main body is a little worried. He is afraid that the power will be too strong, causing some other uncontrollable things to happen. Senju Hashirama asked curiously, what's going on? No 1001 said. The main body was afraid that it could not control its own power, which led to the destruction of the entire ninja world. So, although Uchiha Madara can be easily eliminated, the main body is also worried that the entire ninja world will be dragged down to be buried with Uchiha Madara, so this battle will not continue. Senju Tobirama asked confused. With Naruto's strength, can he still be unable to control his own power? No 1001 said with a wry smile. It's just because this power is too strong, and the main body has never brought all the power together. Unless absolutely necessary, the main body will not take such risky actions. After receiving the answer, Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama fell silent. Unexpectedly, not only did I learn the fact that Naruto didn't try his best, I also learned that Naruto's use of his full strength would probably lead to the collapse of the ninja world. This was something they didn't expect. It's too exaggerated. Let's not talk about that for now. What did you mean when you said you wanted to participate in the bet between me and my eldest brother? Senju Tobirama forced the topic back. No 1001 said with a smile. Since you two don't have corresponding bets, how about I help pay the compensation? If in 5 years the desert of the Land of Wind is not managed well, then Senju Tobirama you win. If the environment in the Kingdom of Wind is managed well, then your brother Senju Hashirama will win. This should be the content of the bet between the two of you. The brothers nodded. Senju Hashirama asked curiously. How are you going to take out the stakes? No 1001 smiled and said. Before taking out the bet, I need to change the two sides of the bet. If it's not managed well, then you two brothers win. If it's managed well, then we win. Senju Tobirama frowned. That's not fair. The content of our bet is that this giant tree can change the environment of the Kingdom of Wind. But now the content has been changed by you to content that will change the Kingdom of Wind within 5 years, and there is no limit to the giant tree. No 1001 just looked at the two of them with a smile and did not respond. Senju Hashirama said seriously. So, if we don't understand the bet, you won't turn this desert into a land full of life? No 1001 shrugged and still said nothing, neither affirmative nor negative. But this attitude is already very clear. Senju Hashirama sighed and said. We made a bet. He already knew the outcome of the bet without even hearing the contents of the bet. Just as Senju Tobirama said, if the condition of World Tree is not limited, it will be easy for Naruto and his clones to change this desert with a wood-style ability that is more powerful than Senju Hashirama. Even if we use our full strength, I am afraid that this yellow desert can be turned into a green forest in a few days. Although he knew that No 1001 was a coercive method, Senju Hashirama could not refuse. After all, something that can completely change the desert and benefit one party can be done as long as Senju Hashirama nods, and he will definitely not fail. Tell me, what do you want us to do? Senju Tobirama said helplessly, crossing his chest. Now that his eldest brother has spoken, Senju Tobirama, his younger brother, can only accompany him. Although I don't know what Naruto's clone wants to do, no matter what it does, it must be Naruto's intention. They weren't worried that Naruto would harm them. No 1001 said with a smile. Since you two have agreed, let me talk about the winning and losing bets. If we lose, we will do whatever you say. But if you lose, then you must accept our treatment unconditionally, or be resurrected. The Senju brothers' eyes suddenly widened. Huh? What did you say? No 1001 said with a smile. I think you should have seen it with your own eyes. How Uchiha Madara used the power of the Rinnegan to restore himself from the state of impure world reincarnation to the peak state of his life. Those who also possess the Rinnegan body can naturally do it. Even if it is us, there is no problem if we work hard. Moreover, unlike Uchiha Madara's, ours has been improved many times and does not require the user to pay any price. In other words, we can resurrect whomever we want to resurrect. Senju Hashirama's eyes widened in shock. Apparently no 1001's words shocked him. Senju Tobirama smiled bitterly and shook his head because he had already guessed the result. After all, Naruto had asked them personally before, but they refused. The reason is just as they said, they are already dead and should not exist in the current world. This world belongs to the people who live on this land now. It can't accommodate old people like them who have died. And he has lost the hidden area left behind. Their family and friends have all passed away with time, and they have all gone to the Pure Land, sitting alone and contentedly beside the bonfire. That kind of tranquility allows them to calm down and don't need to think too much. Although they were a little touched by the fact that the Senju clan had withered to the point of disappearing, in the final analysis, it was all a matter of time. When there was no ninja village era, countless ninja families disappeared in the war. This was the same even in the era of Ninja Village. As the struggle increased and some people coveted the forbidden technique or blood succession limit owned by the ninja clan, many family doctors also became involved. For example, the Wei Yoruichi clan of the Kingdom of Water, the Kurama clan of the Kingdom of Fire, and several ninja clans of the Kingdom of Thunder that were wiped out by the Fourth Raikage, etc. The Senju brothers have seen many of these things. Even though it was their own Senju clan that disappeared, they were not too touched in their hearts. However, no 1001 continued. Don't worry, the Senju clan who passed away will also be resurrected with you. And there are a lot of old guys you know, Senju Tobirama said helplessly. You said you can resurrect anyone you want, and why are you asking us? No 1001 said with a smile. Of course it is so that you two can accept this result willingly. Okay, I'll just assume that you two have agreed to this bet. I hope that the changes in this land in 5 years will make your eyes shine. Senju Hashirama looked up at the huge and spectacular world tree and murmured. I believe you won't let me down. Besides, there is no need to wait 5 years. Anyway, the bet is just a formality for you. Why don't you resurrect us now? No 1001 said with a smile. In that case, I won't be polite. As he spoke, No 1001's eyes suddenly turned into Rinnegans. 2 swish sounds followed. 2 more clones appeared, bringing with them 2 dying criminals wearing prison uniforms. I see. Senju Tobirama understood in a blink of an eye. A price still needs to be paid, but you have changed the party who pays the price. You plan to use the bodies of death row prisoners to resurrect the dead like us? Senju Hashirama frowned suddenly. I don't agree with people. Senju Hashirama is not that pedantic, but he was very concerned about resurrecting himself in this way. Now that he suddenly heard such words, he immediately expressed his objection. But No 1001 said with a smile. I'm sorry, you have already agreed to the bet, so if the bet fails 5 years later, you will naturally have no choice but to pay the bet. Senju Tobirama covered his forehead. This time I was really tricked by you. However, I am indeed very curious about what the world will be like in 5 years' time. Is it becoming better, or is it becoming more chaotic? No 1001 said confidently. Then I invite you two to witness it for yourself in the future. Now I will be your tour guide, helping to explain the functions of this world tree and the functions of the sea rice seeds on the beach. When seawater rice seeds were specifically mentioned, the two people's attention was immediately diverted. Although such a blunt transfer method made the two people notice it immediately, they were really curious. Sea rice seeds? Does it mean rice grown with seawater? Can seawater still do it? Wouldn't seawater usually drown seeds and other things directly? At least in their understanding, rice cannot be grown in seawater. But after seeing Naruto's various magical methods, they didn't dare to vouch for it. What's going on with that sea rice seed? Also, this world tree you mentioned, does it have any other effects that I haven't noticed? Senju Hashirama asked subconsciously. No 1001 immediately smiled and began to introduce in detail like the most dedicated tour guide. You too. Please follow me, we will observe at close range and have a clear understanding. First, the Senju brothers started sightseeing mode. But the fighting here has no intention of stopping at all. At this time, there were not many people left to watch the battle. After all, it is obviously impossible to watch a battle of this scale without possessing certain strength. The fallout alone might be too much for them to bear. Both sides are really evenly matched, but why does Naruto never take the initiative to attack? Kakashi was extremely experienced in combat, but at this moment he couldn't understand Naruto's operations. Could it be that Naruto is still in control of the situation? He is clearly facing such a fierce offensive, but he is still able to handle it with ease? The distance was too far, and Kakashi couldn't clearly see Naruto 2 or 3,000 meters above. At this distance, Naruto was just a small dot in the distance. In order to see more clearly, Kakashi even opened the Sharingan, but it was still difficult to see clearly. The only ones present who could see clearly were probably Hinata and Neji, the two Byakugan owners. Naturally, the ordinary Byakugan cannot see the situation that far away, but after all, the two of them have good talents, and they both trained with Naruto, so they are much better than the Chichong ninja in every aspect. The range that the Byakugan can detect alone is already stronger than that of Hyuga Hiyashi, the current leader of the Hyuga clan. Indeed, as Mr. Kakashi said, Naruto's overall state is very relaxed, and the flow of chakra on his body is very natural and smooth. However, Naruto really has no intention of fighting back, he has been passively defending himself. It doesn't look like they are fighting, but rather they are discussing. It feels like Ivei hit the mark, but looking back at Uchiha Madara. Neji did not continue, because needless to say, it can be seen from the various ninjutsu sage art displayed in the sky, the Uchiha Madara ball offensive will not stop until Naruto is killed. But the key is that no matter how he attacks, he can't shake Naruto's defense. The two of them seem to be trapped in an endless loop at the moment. One side attacked desperately, but the other side blocked all attacks. This appears to be a back and forth between the two sides. But in fact, the defensive side undoubtedly has a very large advantage. But the prerequisite for having an advantage is that Naruto's counterattack can pose a very big threat to Uchiha Madara. And this has been proven by Naruto before. If Naruto hadn't taken advantage of the situation to pursue him, Uchiha Madara might have been chased to death by Naruto when he hid underground to avoid Naruto's attack. After all, Uchiha Madara, who hid in her younger brother, did not completely dodge all of Naruto's attacks. At that time, Uchiha Madara's body had almost collapsed. If he had not been able to recover quickly due to the completely unreasonable body recovery speed of 6 paths mode, I am afraid that Uchiha Madara might have died under that blow. Obviously, that guy Naruto is helping Madara Chiya improve herself. Shikamaru waited for the dead fish eyes to say. The others immediately focused their attention on Shikamaru. Anyway, Naruto couldn't see clearly. Look what I'm doing. Isn't it obvious? Shikamaru spread his hands and said, haven't you forgotten? The current Naruto is not at his full strength. Don't forget, Naruto still has countless clones in other places. When Shikamaru said this, the Shaoqiang people nodded suddenly. Only they know about this. This is the news that Naruto revealed before while waiting for Uchiha Madara to collect the tailed beasts. They were also taught how to exercise with Shadow Clone. Shikamaru continued. Although I don't know how many Shadow Clone Naruto released, but if he liberates all these Shadow Clone and takes back all the scattered power, do you think the current Uchiha Madara will still be Naruto's opponent? Don't forget, Naruto's clone can bring out the existence of that big guy. Shikamaru pointed at the world tree, where only the crown could be seen in the distance. But even if they could only see the crown of the tree, everyone present knew that the world tree must be unbelievably big. Really. Even if Naruto's clone strength is not as strong as the local one, if he can create something like the world tree, he must have a lot of chakra. And after these clones gather together in Naruto's strength will definitely increase dramatically. At that moment, the balance between Uchiha Madara and Naruto will be immediately broken. What they all could see, it was impossible for Naruto not to see. Therefore, Naruto deliberately did not release those clones. Because Naruto didn't intend to end the battle just yet. Then there is only one possible situation, and that is what Shikamaru said. Naruto is exercising with Uchiha Madara. First, help Uchiha Madara become familiar with the power of 6 paths mode, so that Uchiha Madara can pose a certain threat to herself. Use this pressure to improve your own strength. Although this move seemed a bit risky, looking at the situation at the moment, they all knew that it was not very realistic for Uchiha Madara to truly threaten Naruto. Huh? What's going on? Uchiha Madara, are you tired? Why has the offensive softened so much? While bathing in Uchiha Madara's ninjutsu, Naruto suddenly noticed that Uchiha Madara's attacks had slowed down a lot. Although it still has powerful power, the entire sky is shining with various colors. But Naruto, who was inside, could certainly feel it. Because after fighting for so long, Uchiha Madara couldn't break his defensive magic. Originally, Naruto's defensive magic was very powerful and could withstand most of Uchiha Madara's attacks. But after all, there is an upper limit to what it can withstand, and it will still break after being attacked many times. But now, Naruto could feel that the water ball surrounding him had been supporting it for a long time, but it still didn't appear to be broken. Naruto had obviously made plans to supplement his defense skills, but the water ball didn't break. This made Naruto a little dissatisfied. After all, Naruto didn't completely defeat Uchiha Madara just to let Uchiha Madara put pressure on him so that he could be promoted quickly. But now, Uchiha Madara turns out to be useless at work. How can Naruto endure this? Do you think I have no power to fight back? That's really an arrogant idea. Then let you wake up completely. Naruto stretched out his finger, and small chakra cyclones suddenly appeared on his fingertips. Not even Rasengan. And this cyclone broke away from Naruto's fingertips, penetrated the protection of the rock ball and water circle, and appeared in the Sky Minister. It was so small that it couldn't attract anyone's attention at all, not to mention that there were Uchiha Madara's senjutsu shining everywhere around Naruto. But the next moment, the cyclone suddenly expanded, expanding countless times in just an instant and turning into a huge sphere that no one could ignore. This sudden change surprised Uchiha Madara. What is this? Doesn't look like a Rasengan. But the sense of threat it gives me is not weak at all. You must not be hit from the front. Just as he was thinking about it, the cyclone suddenly flew slowly towards Uchiha Madara. The flying speed is very slow, as if everyone is trying to avoid it. However, as the cyclone flew forward, its size also increased rapidly. When the cyclone came to Uchiha Madara, it had turned into a huge sphere hundreds of meters in diameter. No. You must get out of the way. Uchiha Madara made a quick decision and left Susanoo in front of him. He quickly retreated, using Susanoo as his own shield. The next moment, the cyclone exploded. The violent airflow flew and instantly formed a huge tornado that penetrated the sky and the earth. This tornado even engulfed Uchiha Madara's Susanoo directly. Not only that, it also had extremely strong suction, sweeping everything around it away. This suction, it's even stronger than planetary devastation. Uchiha Madara gritted her teeth and endured the extremely powerful suction, but she was still being dragged over uncontrollably. Everyone on the ground was running away like crazy. Because if they don't escape, they will be sucked in by the tornado. With their size, getting involved will only have one outcome. Death without a burial place. They don't have Uchiha Madara's Sage of Six Paths body that can recover extremely quickly from any injuries. They are just a group of ordinary people. At most, they have practiced physical skills to make their bodies more bearable. Facing this tornado, which was like a natural disaster, I didn't dare to have the slightest challenge. Naruto, this is too exaggerated. Uchiha Madara fought for a long time, but Naruto's move directly shattered Uchiha Madara's Susanoo. Ya yelled as he ran. Shikamaru clenched his teeth and shouted. Stop talking nonsense. Run away. At this moment, they had all tried their best to suck the milk, but their escape pace was obviously slowing down. He was clearly moving forward, but he couldn't get far. Instead, he was retreating little by little. Faced with this result, Yaya didn't dare to speak, and ran forward with all his strength, and finally even lay on the ground and crawled like a wild beast. At this time, Kakashi was the first to come up with a solution. Earth-style Heartbehead's technique. I saw Kakashi disappear on the ground in an instant. Then, he grabbed Shikamaru's ankle and dragged Shikamaru directly into the ground. When the others saw this, those who knew how to use this trick also immediately used it, dragging those who were struggling to escape above into the ground. At least this way, you don't need to worry about being swept away by the Dragon Circle wind. Underground, they just have to hold their breath for a while. We are all extremely good ninjas, and holding our breath for a few minutes is no problem. When Naruto counterattacked Uchiha Madara, he did not forget to look at his surroundings. Seeing that everyone in Konoha had found a way to hide, Naruto stopped paying attention. The intensity of the tornado was immediately increased. Uchiha Madara, who was still resisting, was immediately sucked in. As soon as he entered the tornado, Uchiha Madara immediately felt the feeling of being cut to pieces by 1,000 cuts. Countless sharp wind blades rotated in the tornado, cutting countless wounds on his body in just an instant. If it weren't for the body's extremely fast self-healing speed, Uchiha Madara would have been crushed into an insignificant powder the moment he entered. But fortunately, with the body of Sage of Six Paths, Uchiha Madara endured the pain despite the pain. After an unknown amount of time, the raging tornado slowly dissipated. The whole sky became silent. The bright sunshine shines on the earth, but it cannot illuminate the extremely deep holes on the ground where the tornado spins and wreaks havoc. Under Naruto's control, the tornado itself that penetrated the sky and the earth did not move. It just uses suction to suck in everything around it. But the long period of rotation directly drilled an extremely deep pit into the ground. Bottomless, like an abyss. After the tornado dissipated, the battered Uchiha Madara fell from the sky in confusion. The tornado's cutting is nothing, and it still has not been able to break through the Sage of Six Paths body's self-healing limit. But the constantly rotating wind speed completely stunned Uchiha Madara. In his slightly narrowed eyes, the world was still spinning rapidly. The whole person couldn't exert any strength at all, and just fell from the air into the bottomless abyss. Naruto looked condescendingly. The power is still a bit lacking, but it's just a simple wind style. How can it have such power? Naruto was also a little surprised. I have been using senjutsu to attack and defend with Uchiha Madara. Now he suddenly attacks Uchiha Madara with his ordinary wind style, and it is actually so powerful. At least Uchiha Madara's Susanoo was completely minced. It can be seen that magic is not necessarily required to appear powerful. The key point still depends on who is using it. Suddenly realizing this, Naruto was no longer obsessed with magic. But again, there is no fixed form of ninjutsu. Simply use chakra to simulate the formation of various elements, and then simply control them. Just like the huge tornado just now. There is no name for any ninjutsu, it's just that Naruto used wind style to form a tornado. Although this tornado is relatively large, standing in the air, Naruto pondered how to use the other elements. At the same time, the new inspiration also made Naruto's clones everywhere start a new round of busyness. Naruto wants to study the ultimate that can be achieved purely through escape techniques. But this is obviously not something that can be accomplished overnight. Naruto wasn't in a hurry either. After all, he has plenty of time. Huh. Why don't you come up yet? Although the attack just crushed his Susanoo, it didn't cause much damage to his body. And I could see clearly that his injuries basically recovered on the spot. Did you get hit again? Hey, why did I say again? Naruto looked down intently. Although he made the abyss-like hole by himself, looking at the pure darkness still makes people feel a little scared. If possible, it is better not to cause so much damage to the earth. Maybe there will be some big earthquake or something. That would be a sin. Naruto hopes to compete with masters, which will show the meaning of his hard work. But if those innocent ordinary people are affected when fighting, Naruto will feel bad. After all, Naruto was not a murderous person. Naruto is just pursuing power, with a pure idea, pursuing the island. Of course, Naruto will not learn from Orochimaru and use various research to make himself neither human nor ghost. That wasn't what Naruto was after. Not what Naruto wanted either. At this time, I don't know how long it fell, but it finally hit the ground, and Uchiha Madara finally came back to his senses. No. He seemed to be half lost, his eyes were extremely blank. You don't even have magic chakra. You just broke my Susanoo so easily? Although there was still no irreversible damage to his body, Uchiha Madara still couldn't believe that his proud Susanoo was wiped out with such an understatement. He felt that everything he once believed in was being shattered bit by bit. He once thought that after possessing the Rinnegan, he would be the strongest in the entire ninja world. But every time he faced Naruto, he could only fight as a challenger. Challenge has always been the attitude of the weak when facing the strong. Only others have always challenged him. Uchiha Madara, when was it his turn to challenge others? Even with Senju Hashirama, the two of them just competed rather than challenge. The confident infinite Tsukuyomi plan was exposed as a conspiracy, and he turned out to be a thug in the hands of others. The key is that Uchiha Madara doesn't know it yet. It wasn't until Black Zetsu's identity was exposed that Uchiha Madara understood. However, because Black Zetsu was completely sealed, Uchiha Madara also understood that there was a possibility of successfully casting infinite Tsukuyomi. As long as there is no interruption from Black Zetsu, infinite Tsukuyomi can be implemented. This suddenly rekindled desire in Uchiha Madara's heart. As long as he can defeat Naruto, he can restart his plan. So, he collected tailed beasts everywhere, cooperated with Orochimaru, and used the 9 tails chakra in the Golden Horn and Silver Horn to barely activate the complete form of 10 tails, thus becoming 10 tails Jinchuriki. Just when he thought that his strength had surpassed the former sage of 6 paths and became the real strongest, reality slapped him hard twice. All the methods he used, whether it was magic or yin-yang escape, could not pose a threat to Naruto. No, the threat was there, at least Naruto didn't dare to take his attack forcefully. But he can't get in. Whether it's his dodge skills or his protective abilities, Naruto is too strong. His attacks were like a torrent of water, one after another, but they could not break through Naruto's multiple defenses. Although as time goes by, Uchiha Madara can feel that he is becoming more and more skilled in controlling the power of 6 paths. But he could also clearly feel that Naruto's strength was steadily improving. Doesn't this allow people to live? Naruto is only King 8 years old. An 8-year-old child actually pushed himself to this point. Even after he had been attacking for so long, the moment he relaxed a little, the opponent would directly attack him and drive him into the ground? Uchiha Madara can't accept it. If someone ever told him that an 8-year-old child would beat him as a son in the future, Uchiha Madara will definitely crush the person who spoke. This is not even a joke. But now, Uchiha Madara just wants to lie down. Haha, luckily I still think I can beat him. It's simply wishful thinking. Uchiha Madara's face was filled with a wry smile. Just lying on the ground motionless. However, he didn't move, but something was moving. The ground beneath him began to tremble. It was slight at first, but Uchiha Madara didn't feel it anymore. But Uchiha Madara didn't care. At this time, Uchiha Madara was like a salted fish who had lost his dream, lying flat on his back. Not caring about changes in the outside world at all. But as the shaking gradually intensified, even Uchiha Madara could not ignore it. How is this going? Uchiha Madara frowned slightly and floated off the ground. The moment he left, the ground suddenly cracked. Countless amounts of magma shot out under tremendous pressure. Uchiha Madara was swept up and rushed forward. The hot magma instantly burned Uchiha Madara's skin, but under the power of 6 paths, it was unable to cause any further damage to Uchiha Madara. Naruto's attack actually penetrated the ground? On the ground, Kakashi and others are still waiting for the follow-up. Naruto stood in the air without making a move, waiting for Uchiha Madara to fly up on his own. And Uchiha Madara is down there and doesn't he know why he hasn't come up yet? Kakashi and the others did not expect that instead of waiting for Uchiha Madara to appear, they saw a column of lava spewing out along with violent shaking. Under the intense pressure, the lava was ejected hundreds of meters into the air. Then they scattered and fell to the ground, burning everything that could burn. The battlefield, which was already a mess, suddenly turned into lava all over the ground. Quickly run away. Kakashi yelled and moved away quickly. The temperature of this molten slurry is not low. They are both ninjas with high attack and low defense. Once they are connected, there will definitely be no good results. The best thing to do is to stay away from the range of magma spraying and flowing as soon as possible. The spray of molten magma seemed to be endless. It flows rapidly around and burns everything that can be ignited. Fortunately, the speed of flow is nothing to ninjas. After the initial panic, no one was affected by the sudden appearance of blood. Everyone fled beyond safety. When they turned around, the slowly flowing molten lava had accumulated to the size of a lake. Everyone looked at this scene dumbfounded, not knowing what to say. Ya said blankly. Uchiha Madara, he won't be melted, will he? This time, even Shikamaru was not sure. Probably, no? Kakashi immediately looked up to the sky. With the excellent dynamic vision of a Sharingan, he keenly saw Naruto standing in the air like a small dot. But Uchiha Madara was not seen in the sky. Could it be that Uchiha Madara really? Wrong. Kakashi immediately realized that things were not over yet. Uchiha Madara is not dead yet. Otherwise, Naru will not continue to stand in the sky. It is obvious that he is still waiting for Uchiha Madara to come up. Hearing Kakashi's words, they all looked up to the sky. Although at this distance, only Hinata and Neji with Byakugan can see it. But they all knew that Kakashi had no need to lie to them. They looked up, just subconsciously wanting to confirm. Kakashi-sensei is right. Naruto is still looking down, just waiting for Uchiha Madara to come up. Neji said with a solemn expression. He was extremely shocked that Uchiha Madara could not die in such an attack. After all, this is an enemy that has fought with Naruto to such an extent. If it was eliminated by these magma, Naruto wouldn't have spent so much effort. Shikamaru shook his head and said. Although he is also an 8-year-old child, Shikamaru obviously thinks more than the average teenager. After all, the IQ is there. But don't worry, I will definitely win tomorrow, there is absolutely no problem. After hearing his words, everyone nodded silently. A huge figure suddenly emerged from the magma lake. It is Susanoo from Uchiha Madara. Relying on Susanoo's powerful defense ability to isolate the lava, Uchiha Madara was not harmed at all. But judging from this method, it is obvious that Uchiha Madara does not like soaking in magma. This magma may not kill Uchiha Madara, but there is no need for Uchiha Madara to experience the feeling of being burned all over his body. That's not necessary. I thought you wanted to wash yourself some more. Naruto said with a smile. Uchiha Madara cancelled Susanoo and flew to the same height as Naruto. I know you haven't used your full strength. The first thing that made me feel insulted was that someone, my noble Uchiha Madara, would let someone offend me while fighting me. But now, I've figured it out. I haven't reached my limit yet, and I think you are also waiting for me to reach that limit, because you need a sense of oppression. They were all people who once had an invincible attitude. I had a comparable opponent at that time, but you didn't. I think loneliness makes you miserable, right? It feels like you have a lot of abilities, but no one can compete with you. Naruto fell silent. Indeed, this is the reason why Naruto has not killed Uchiha Madara for a long time. After all, invincibility is a state that tests people's hearts. Every bit of Naruto's strength was obtained through his own training. But because of the 3000 clone brigade, although it was obtained through self-cultivation, it was obtained too quickly. Far superior to all others, he awakened the system when he was 7 years old, and now he is more than 8 years old, and he has been able to fight Uchiha Madara in 6 paths mode, and suppressed him almost all the way. Naruto wasn't worried about the present, but in the future. After all, Naruto still has at least a few decades to live. During this period, this feeling of invincibility will always be with Naruto. If he can survive it, it will naturally be of great help to Naruto's spirit. But if he doesn't survive it, Naruto might go crazy. At that time, I'm afraid it will be a disaster for the entire ninja world. Just like those stupid kings in history who were stupid and wreaked havoc. Just so that my heart can beat too much, instead of gradually calming down as time goes by. Seeing Naruto's silence and the smile disappearing from his face, Uchiha Madara knew that he had guessed correctly. But what he didn't know was that he had only guessed a little. For Naruto, the lack of opponents is indeed a problem. But it wasn't enough for Naruto's mind to finally collapse. Because besides fighting, there are many things Naruto wants to do in this world. Otherwise Naruto wouldn't have tinkered with those improved plants. Everything is to make this world a better place. At least, no more people will die of hunger. Standing at the top for too long is not a good thing. Uchiha Madara is still chattering about her own experience. But as long as you find other goals, it will always make you feel better. Although, I am afraid that my goal cannot be achieved, after all, there are juniors like you standing in front of me. But I want to believe that the future you create will definitely be better than the current ninja world. I don't know what kind of world you intend to create. But I can look forward to it. But before that, we have to end our battle. Stop holding back. Let me see your true strength. Uchiha Madara opened her hands and shouted towards Naruto. He's had enough. If we say at the beginning, Uchiha Madara felt that with her own power, she could threaten Naruto or even kill Naruto. But as the battle lasted longer and longer, he realized that he had no ability to threaten Naruto at all. Maybe the damage of yin-yang done is enough, but if it can't break through Naruto's defense and hurt Naruto's body, no matter how powerful the damage is, it will be meaningless. When he used 9 truth-seeking balls to attack Naruto at the same time, Uchiha Madara already had a hint of clarity in his heart. Naruto was not an opponent he could defeat. Therefore, he does not want to continue this repetitive process. He just wanted to end this humiliating battle. However, Naruto shook his head and said, "No, this level is just right now. Since you think you have no chance of winning, let's make a bet. In the next 3 days, I will not carry out any attacks. As long as you can hurt me, I will agree with your plan. How about it?" Uchiha Madara had veins popping out on his forehead. Naruto's words were simply offensive to him. It was as if no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't hurt Naruto. But Uchiha Madara couldn't refute it. This is what makes Uchiha Madara angry the most. In that case, don't blame me if you die, Uchiha Madara said fiercely. He originally thought about digging into his heart and asking Naruto to give him a happy one. But now the control is in Naruto's hands, what can he do? Even if he wanted to turn around and leave, Uchiha Madara said that Naruto would not let him leave. It's just another battlefield. However, Uchiha Madara knew that if he dared to threaten Naruto with those innocent people, Naruto would trap him. Although Naruto and him agreed that neither party would use the 4 red yang formation or the like. But if you want to restrict his movements tomorrow, you don't just rely on the 4 red yang formation. Naruto was even able to create a similar barrier on the spot. For Naruto, this is not difficult at all. At least, for Uchiha Madara, many of Naruto's ninjutsu and senjutsu have never been heard of before. But Uchiha Madara is not surprised. After all, when the two of them were beaten to this level, Danchang's ninjutsu and senjutsu were meaningless. The two of them have more control over power. For morphological changes and nature transformation, it has reached the level of going deep into the bone marrow. No longer stuck to the forms of ninjutsu and senjutsu. The two of them can use ninjutsu and senjutsu in whatever form they want. Naturally, the two of them no longer need to shout the names of ninjutsu or senjutsu. Because that has no meaning anymore. Go to hell. Uchiha Madara roared madly. On the ground, a molten ball suddenly rose. The lava ball, which is about 10 meters in diameter, is not particularly conspicuous from a distance. But in terms of lethality, it is obviously very strong. After all, the temperature of the molten magma is extremely high, and it is a temperature that ordinary people cannot determine at all. At this moment, under the control of Uchiha Madara, this molten ball rushed towards Naruto at an extremely fast speed. This level of it doesn't do anything to me, Naruto said calmly. Arrange a water ball casually and fly down towards the lava ball. Laugh. When the two collided, there was no sound of any explosion, but the sounds of each other's smiles were extremely obvious. What followed was a large amount of high-temperature water vapor, which spread at an extremely fast speed. Naruto was stunned for a moment. The temperature of water vapor is very high and can easily burn people and even endanger their lives. But for Naruto, there won't be any problems. He only needs to set up an isolation layer around him to keep out the water vapor with little penetration ability. But what surprised Naruto was that the water vapor completely blocked Naruto's sight. Naruto could only see a vast expanse of white. But these are nothing. After all, with observation haki, Naruto can know Uchiha Madara's every move even with his eyes closed. What worried Naruto was that with so much water vapor, if a steam explosion was accidentally triggered, the spread would definitely be very wide. And it will be very powerful. He himself is confident enough to handle it. But he didn't know if Uchiha Madara, or those watching below, could bear it. Although I don't know if Uchiha Madara will do this. But in order to avoid this happening, Naruto took a step first. I saw a sudden strong wind in the sky. All steam is dissipated immediately. But Uchiha Madara, who was supposed to be in front of Naruto, wasn't there. The back? Naruto said calmly after seeing a brief glimpse of the future. Looking back, I saw Uchiha Madara had arrived. In his hand, he held a truth-seeking ball, as if he was going to fight Naruto to the death. Naruto had seen the power of the truth-seeking ball many times. I have to admit that so far, Naruto has not been able to resist the power of truth-seeking ball. It can only be separated by defense. This time it can only be like this. But just as Naruto's thoughts occurred, Naruto once again saw the short future. This made his expression change, and the movements in his hands immediately accelerated. Boom! A loud noise like thunder. Along with the huge smoke shrouded Naruto and Uchiha Madara. Sudden. A figure emerged from each side of the smoke. One is Uchiha Madara, whose body is covered with scars, but is slowly repairing. The other one was Naruto, who looked quite embarrassed. This was the first time since Naruto fought with Uchiha Madara. It's a pity that he almost hurt me. Naruto looked down at himself. His clothes were a little damaged, but there were no injuries on his body. Then he looked at the thick fog in front of him with a little fear, as if through the thick fog, he saw Uchiha Madara on the opposite side. Uchiha Madara's attack just now was really crazy. Completely ignoring his own safety, he directly detonated the truth-seeking ball without hitting Naruto. At first, Naruto didn't understand why Uchiha Madara did this. Because it detonated in advance, it meant that the center of the explosion's impact was not here, and the possibility of threatening Naruto was greatly reduced. Even if Naruto had no defense, he would only suffer minor injuries at most. But Naruto soon realized that this was what Uchiha Madara wanted. After all, Naruto had just boasted that as long as he was hurt by Uchiha Madara, he would agree with Uchiha Madara's plan. But can Naruto agree? It's obviously impossible. It is absolutely impossible for Naruto to accept everyone living in a world of genjutsu. Fortunately, we were able to defend in time at the last moment. Although he looked a little embarrassed, at least he was not injured. Tisk. Just a little bit close. Uchiha Madara pouted. This is indeed Uchiha Madara's best chance so far. The reason is that Naruto has not yet made a change between the goals of both parties. However, after this moment, I am completely sure. Naruto, this guy must be able to see the future. Otherwise, the previous behavior is completely unreasonable. Uchiha Madara's face was extremely solemn. But how can we do it in the future? What is the limit of blood inheritance? Are there also blood inheritance limits that involve time? Something is obviously wrong. How many mysteries are there in Naruto? Is this ability to see the future the key to Naruto gaining the strength he has now? Uchiha Madara's thoughts were racing. But as the smoke gradually dissipated, his spirit gradually lifted. What the hell? Anyway, as long as I hurt Naruto, my plan can go ahead. Although it's a little worse this time, as long as you give me enough time, I will definitely get the next pill. Huh, you really can't be careless for a moment. Naruto let out a small breath. He just relaxed a little and was almost caught by Uchiha Madara. In other words, Uchiha Madara had seized the opportunity, but in a hurry he was unable to use an attack that could actually threaten Naruto. However, if Uchiha Madara uses an attack such as Truth-Seeking Ball, Naruto's observation haki can also provide a quick warning. In this case, Uchiha Madara would not even have the possibility of breaking his clothes. Fortunately, with this vigilance, it won't be so easy next time. Naruto chuckled, already winning, because he could feel that Uchiha Madara was about to reach his limit. The extent to which it can be improved is limited. As long as he is alert enough, Uchiha Madara cannot hurt him. The next time comes, I will stand here motionless and let you attack. As long as you can hurt me, I will agree with your plan and help you implement it. Of course, the premise is that you can really hurt me. As he said this, several layers of protective magic appeared on Naruto's body. Seeing Naruto being wrapped in layers of magic, Uchiha Madara suddenly felt dizzy. Before, Uchiha Madara almost tried her best, but was unable to break through all Naruto's protection. Now faced with these things again, what should he do? A simple attack is meaningless. If all his defensive magic cannot be broken in a short period of time, it will be impossible to hurt Naruto inside. However, even if it is an attack from Truth-Seeking Ball, it will take several simultaneous explosions to break this defensive spell. What do I do? Uchiha Madara was lost in thought. And the sky became silent again. People below don't know what's going on above. Seeing the situation that suddenly became quiet, they were all confused. What's going on? Suddenly the fight stopped. Ya scratched his head, his face full of confusion. Shikamaru frowned slightly and said, "Who knows, it's not the first time anyway. This is not the first time such a sudden stoppage has occurred. But such a long pause, with both sides in the air, is still very strange." Kakashi touched his chin and said, "Perhaps, something happened above that we don't understand. Neji, have you discovered anything?" Neji shook his head and said, "Naruto seemed to have said something to Uchiha Madara, and then Naruto took a full defensive stance and showed no intention of attacking. Uchiha Madara is just standing in the air, not knowing what is brewing, and also has no idea of attacking." Little Sakura said in confusion, "Naruto is so powerful, why do you have to be defensive all the time? If Naruto wants to win, wouldn't he be able to win right away?" Yuhi Hong stepped forward and touched little Sakura's little head and said, "Brother Naruto doesn't want to win so easily, he has other purposes. Although I don't know, since it is brother Naruto's plan, I will definitely support him." Might Guy pinched his waist and said, "What other purpose could there be? Didn't boy Shikamaru just say it? Boy Naruto just wants to get closer to his own strength, so he keeps giving tricks to Uchiha Madara. But I didn't expect that young Naruto would rise to such a level in such a short period of time. It really puts us seniors to shame. It must be because we didn't train more." Xiao Li. We can't waste our youth. Let me do a 50-kilometer speed run. Xiao Li immediately became energetic and replied. Yes. Teacher Guy. The two people immediately turned into a green whirlwind and disappeared from everyone's eyes. Kakashi shook his head helplessly. Guy, this guy is really capable of doing things. Yu He Hong said with a smile. Isn't this just Guy's character? I think you've already gotten used to it, Kakashi. Kakashi nodded silently. As Might Kaido's old rival, he knows Might Guy's character very well. When the battlefield fell into silence, other places are not idle. The Senju brothers, led by Clone No 1001, arrived at the seawater rice fields by the sea. It's really full of vitality. It can actually grow in seawater. Senju Hashirama said with a sigh. Senju Tobarama asked. Why can these rice plants survive in seawater? No 1001 said with a smile. You won't understand the specific principles, so I'll just pick out the things you can understand. When preparing to improve crops, we have already prepared a variety of applicable scenarios. For example, the water temperature of the rice fields, the environment of the rice fields, the water quality of the rice fields, etc. After many experiments, we have thousands of varieties of rice fields that can grow in various places, and this is one of our results. Now, my partners are starting to promote these rice seeds in various parts of the ninja world. I believe that it won't be long before people will get rid of hunger. Senju Tobarama frowned slightly and said. But no matter how much food farmers plant, most of it will be taken away by the powerful. Farmers without food will still starve to death, right? No 1001 smiled and said. So, what the ontology means is that those powerful people have no need to exist anymore. In fact, we have already done this before, and dealt with all the nobles who had oppressed ordinary people. Now, there aren't many nobles left alive. Senju Tobarama's expression suddenly changed. He didn't expect that Naruto, at such a young age, would have such decisive thoughts. The idea of wiping out all the nobles may only be achieved by Naruto. After all, Naruto was so powerful that even a clone made Senju Tobarama feel the pressure, not to mention those nobles who didn't have any power in their hands. If you do this, aren't you afraid of how future generations will record you? No 1001 shrugged and said. I don't care about what's going on behind my back. People who care about that are just a bunch of mediocre people. What we care about is the present, and we will never do anything we regret. Senju Tobarama was silent. Senju Hashirama, on the other hand, has already run over to observe the rice fields up close. Stop. Who are you? A pile of sand immediately enveloped Senju Hashirama, and Gaara appeared in front of them. Gaara looked at No 1001, and it was precisely when he saw Naruto's clone that Gaara did not attack Senju Hashirama immediately. However, his method naturally cannot trap Senju Hashirama. The reason why Senju Hashirama did not struggle was because he was afraid of accidentally hurting the rice around him. Gaara did not recognize Senju Hashirama's identity. This is also normal. After all, I grew up in Sunagakure. Although I knew the first Hokage, I didn't know what he looked like. But after taking a few glances, Temari found that the middle-aged man in front of him looked very familiar. Finally, after searching carefully in my memory, I finally found the memory of Senju Hashirama. Quick. Let him go. Temari anxiously held Gaara's hand, fearing that he would accidentally crush Senju Hashirama. After all, this kind of thing is not uncommon for Temari and Gaara to do. Although most of the time Gaara is attacked by surprise, causing Gaara to have to defend herself. But now this person can't do this, because this person's identity is too special. He's the first Hokage, Temari shouted anxiously. Gaara and Kankuro were both shocked. Kankuro shouted in horror. What? First Hokage? Isn't that person already dead? How do you know him? Temari slapped Kankuro on the head and said. During Chunan's exam before, didn't we see that rock with a face? One of them was him. At this time, Senju Tobarama came over and said. Behind him is me. When the three little guys saw another dead guy appearing in front of them, they were so frightened that they all lost their color. No 1001 said with a smile. Please don't make such jokes casually, they won't be able to bear it. Senju Tobarama said with a smile. It's just that the reactions of these three little guys were so funny that I couldn't hold it back for a while. Okay, don't worry, we won't do anything bad to you. We are just here to visit the reborn Kingdom of Wind. I believe that under Naruto's leadership, the Kingdom of Wind will definitely become better and better. You should know better than me, right? Gaara was the first to calm down. He first removed the sand that trapped Senju Hashirama, and then looked into the dark eyes of the two people and said, "I wish I had heard that you are the impure world reincarnation? I didn't expect that even you would be reincarnated by the impure world. But, do the people who control you feel free to let you move around as you please?" Senju Tobirama said with a shrug. "At any rate, I created that technique. I still know how to cancel the contract of impure world reincarnation. At the same time, it's also to prevent someone from taking advantage of my technique and controlling me to do something I don't want to do. Now we are free to go wherever we want." As he spoke, Senju Tobirama looked at the almost endless seawater rice fields and said, "Did Naruto do all of this?" Gaara shook his head and said, "No, part of it is, the rest is that we do it according to Naruto's teachings, so that everyone in the Kingdom of Wind can have enough to eat." When he said these words, Gaara didn't look like an 8-year-old boy at all, but was full of responsibility as a leader. Senju Hashirama patted Gaara's little head in surprise. "This little guy is really a born leader. Under your leadership, this Kingdom of Wind will definitely get better and better. Because you are a good boy who thinks about everyone." These two simple sentences made Gaara feel very excited. Because the person who said this was not a random passerby, but the first Hokage Senju Hashirama who once calmed down the troubled times in the ninja world. For people living in the ninja world, Senju Hashirama is a well-known symbol. Even after so many years, countless people still have heard of Senju Hashirama's name and what he did. Although most of them have been distorted, this also shows from the side the influence represented by the names Senju Hashirama. "Don't worry, I will do it," Gaara said with a determined expression. Senju Hashirama said with a smile, "Come on, give us a detailed introduction." Senju Hashirama said with a smile as he held Gaara's shoulders and pulled him forward. Senju Tobirama and others were left behind. Brother is really happy. It's been a long time since I've seen him so relaxed. Tamari looked at the two living fossils and ate trigrams with excitement on his face. "Well, can you tell us something about what happened to you at that time?" Senju Tobirama looked at Tamari, whose face turned red with excitement, smiled and nodded. "I remember during the first 5 Shadows conference, your first shadow, Sanagakure. During the chat, the two little guys kept making exclamations of surprise as they told interesting stories from the past." Senju Tobirama's mouth couldn't help but reveal a relaxed smile. "This world is getting better little by little. It has become more beautiful than when they were still alive. Very nice. Huh. Finally it's almost done. But who should be awakened first?" Orochimaru was alone in a hidden cave. During this time, he went around non-stop to search for the people on the list Naruto gave him. Of course, it's part of the body. But what gives Orochimaru a headache is that many of them are not ninjas, but just civilians, and they look quite young. Naruto also specifically stated that these people should be restored to their young age. By investigating the situation of these people, Orochimaru roughly understood the reason why Naruto asked him to do this. Because these people are relatively famous people in various places, and most of them are quite famous in research matters. In a world like the ninja world with chakra, those who have achieved a certain degree of popularity through research as ordinary people must have something special about them. Orochimaru knows this best, because Orochimaru is one of the best researchers in the entire ninja world. But Orochimaru relies more on the power of chakra to assist him in conducting various difficult and high-precision research. But these ordinary people only rely on their own hands and their clever brains. That's all. Compared with Orochimaru, it is definitely extraordinary. Orochimaru also understood that Naruto asked him to awaken these people in order to obtain a research team. To be honest, after the investigation, Orochimaru was also very jealous of these people. If these people had helped with research, I wonder how many detours Orochimaru could have avoided. It's a pity that Naruto wanted these people by name and he didn't dare to intercept them at will. After all, his life was still in Naruto's hands. But, if a research team were to do so, why would West emphasize restoring them to their youthful self? Why is that? Orochimaru couldn't understand Naruto's request. If you can't figure it out, you can't figure it out. What needs to be done next cannot be delayed. These ordinary people will be postponed for the time being. Anyway, these people are not needed now. It's better to wake up those two people first. Orochimaru quickly made what he thought was the safest decision. After a while of busyness, 2 figures appeared in front of Orochimaru with their eyes closed as if they were sleeping. 1 male and 1 female. The man has blonde hair and the girl has red hair. Looking at these 2 people, Orochimaru had a subtle expression on his face. I wonder what Naruto will think when he sees you guys. No idea. A cold voice reached Orochimaru's ears. He turned back suddenly and looked at Naruto, who appeared in front of him in horror. Or Naruto's clone. Have you been spying on me? Orochimaru put on a fierce face, but actually he was very panicked inside. This is normal, no one likes the feeling of being stared at. Naruto clone shook his head and said, I didn't stare at you specifically. It's just that this area falls under my supervision, and I will pay attention to anything that happens here. Orochimaru remained silent, but cold sweat had already crawled down his back. What does the other person mean? Supervise the entire area. How big is this area? Can you supervise with just one clone? Just how scary is Naruto? Orochimaru didn't dare to think deeply. But at this moment, he seemed to feel that he had no secrets left. Standing in front of Naruto, it was as if he had been stripped of all his clothes, even his skin and flesh were not covered, his bones, etc. were all exposed. The ceremony has been completed, do you need me to wake them up? Orochimaru said with a dry voice. Because of being too nervous, my throat became tight and even my voice became different from usual. Although Orochimaru's voice is not very pleasant to begin with. No, just leave the rest to me, Naruto's clone said, coming to the two of them. These two people are Naruto's parents, Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. Looking at the two people with their eyes closed, Naruto felt quite emotional. Ultimately, Naruto didn't have much affection for these two people. After all, he's not the real Naruto. However, Naruto knew that these two people had made sacrifices to protect Naruto. So Naruto was willing to admit that they were his parents. Orochimaru looked at Naruto with some surprise, intending to see how Naruto would perform. Then, he saw that as Naruto closed and opened his eyes, a circle like Rinnegan appeared. Although it was not his first time meeting him, when he saw the legendary Rinnegan, Orochimaru's eyes still shone with a burning gaze. Naruto didn't care. Instead, he continued his operations. Seal. Rinne Tensai technique changed. Invisible life force began to fill the two people in front of Naruto. The unique skin cracks of the impure world reincarnation body also disappeared little by little, and turned into the same skin color as normal people. Orochimaru looked at this scene in shock. Can it really be done? Is this the Rinnegan, the leader of the three major eye arts? But what will the price be? It can't be so easy to resurrect a dead person. Naruto took 2 steps back and said calmly, if it were a normal Rinne Tensai technique, I would have to pay with my own life to awaken the dead. So I made some improvements and connected the channels that require paying a price to others. Orochimaru was suddenly startled and said warily, whose body? Naruto turned to look at Orochimaru and said, don't worry, you are still useful in my eyes and I won't let you die so easily. At least you won't die until your usefulness is over. Orochimaru breathed a sigh of relief. As for Naruto, although he was not happy, he could only endure it. After all, form is stronger than people, and Naruto is so much stronger than him that he has no power to resist at all. Orochimaru could only change the subject and said, then, who pays the price? Naruto said calmly. The death row prisoners prepared in advance are people who have committed unforgivable crimes. I just used the remaining heat before they died. And this way of death does not cause much pain, allowing them to go on their way with peace of mind. Orochimaru looked stern when he heard this. He took 2 steps back involuntarily. It's just that Naruto's method is a little too weird. Orochimaru didn't sense the presence of any ordinary people for hundreds of meters around him. In other words, the sacrifice prepared by Naruto was far away from this distance. From such a long distance, life force can be extracted at will. Maybe he could steal Orochimaru's life force without anyone noticing. Orochimaru cannot help but be afraid of this strange method. But despite being scared, Orochimaru is also very interested and wants to study this ability. Naruto seemed to have guessed Orochimaru's thoughts and said calmly, the method of extracting their life force was arranged by me in advance. If I want to steal other people's life force without anyone noticing, I can't do it yet. Hearing this, Orochimaru did not feel relieved at all, but was even more frightened. You can read minds? Orochimaru said tremblingly. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle after hearing this. How come? If I could read minds, things wouldn't be so troublesome. I can end this chaotic world half a year early. Orochimaru sneered and stopped talking. At this time, the two people in front of Naruto slowly opened their eyes, showing blank expressions. This is. Namikaze Minato seems to have not yet realized his state. Obviously he remembers sitting in front of the bonfire, thinking about his life. But beside him, a figure suddenly rushed out. The moment Uzumaki Kushina saw Naruto, even though it was much older than the baby she saw, she still recognized it as her child in an instant. Therefore, she rushed over without any hesitation and hugged her child tightly. Naruto. My child. Naruto was stunned for a moment, then smiled and hugged his mother. It's me, I'm your child, Naruto. We finally meet again. Namikaze Minato stared blankly at his wife and son hugging each other in front of him, as if he was in a dreamland. This was a scene he had envisioned countless times in front of the Pure Land bonfire. But when all this really happened in front of him, he became hesitant. He was afraid that all this was just his imagination and not real. Until Naruto reached out to him. Even though he had his son and wife in his arms, Namikaze Minato still didn't have much real feeling. This is too dreamy. Even though he was already dead, he could still hug his child like this. But soon, Namikaze Minato noticed something was wrong. Wait, your body. Namikaze Minato looked at Naruto in surprise. Not that he thought the Naruto in front of him was in disguise. Instead, he felt that Naruto's body in front of him didn't look like a normal human body. Naruto said with a smile, I didn't expect you to see it. That's right, I'm just a shadow clone, and my body is somewhere else. Uzumaki Kushina raised her head, her face full of tenderness. It doesn't matter, just think of it as a preview, and even if it's a shadow clone, it's my son's shadow clone. Namikaze Minato said with a sigh. I didn't expect that, just a shadow clone, the chakra in your body would be so mellow. Besides, you shouldn't be 10 years old yet, right? Have you tamed the 9 tails in your body? When Uzumaki Kushina heard this, he immediately raised his head in surprise. How did you do that, kid? I think it took me a lot of effort to defeat it. Before Naruto could answer, Orochimaru behind them said in a low tone. That's because you don't know what your children have been doing this year. From knowing nothing to now being on the verge of unifying the entire ninja world, your children have accomplished achievements that are unimaginable to the world. Namikaze Minato and Kushina turned around and saw Orochimaru similar to what they remembered. But Orochimaru had not yet rebelled at that time, so they did not know that the Orochimaru in front of them had wanted to kill their children. It turns out it's Orochimaru-sama, was it you who revived us? Did you not expect Orochimaru-sama to be able to do this? Then, what's the price? Namikaze Minato is indeed a person who has been a Hokage and has a very sensitive feeling for ninjutsu. He immediately realized that if he wanted to resurrect a person, he would definitely have to pay a considerable price. After all, when he was still alive, he had never heard of similar ninjutsu. However, Orochimaru shook his head and said, It wasn't me who saved you, but your precious son. When the two heard this, they immediately looked at their son in surprise. By the way, Orochimaru-sama just said that you want to unify the ninja world? What does it mean? Naruto smiled slightly and said, Don't be anxious, wait for me to speak slowly. Afterwards, Naruto told the story of what happened during the year bit by bit. When Naruto mentioned that Orochimaru once wanted to attack him, Kushina suddenly turned her head and stared at Orochimaru fiercely, like a lioness protecting her cubs, her eyes full of ferocity. Although Namikaze Minato did not turn his head, his eyes became sharp. Orochimaru was indifferent to their attitude. Although these two people are also very strong, they are not strong enough to make Orochimaru feel desperate. If he wanted to escape in the hands of the two of them, Orochimaru was confident that he could still do it. So, facing Kushina's fierce gaze, Orochimaru just spread his hands and shrugged. I didn't do it. You don't know how strong your son is now. To this day, I want to possess his body, but unfortunately, I can't do it in this life. Orochimaru spoke his thoughts calmly and had no intention of hiding anything. After all, there was absolutely no point in hiding from Naruto. Snort. Kushina snorted coldly and said, If I find out that you have any bad intentions towards Naruto, I will tear you into pieces immediately. Although 9 Tails is no longer in her body, Kushina herself has an extremely fierce character. He spoke without any mercy. Namikaze Minato patted Kushina on the shoulder and said, Don't worry, with us here, no one can hurt Naruto. Naruto smiled instead, wait a moment and then continue telling your story. As the topic of Naruto continued, Namikaze Minato and Kushina also withdrew their attention from Orochimaru, listening in fear. Even if they saw Naruto right in front of them, they still felt frightened when they heard Naruto facing those opponents. That was an opponent that even they had to deal with carefully, but now their 8-year-old child actually faced them and won. Although Naruto described it very calmly, various thrilling scenes were already simulated in their minds. But the actual situation is just as Naruto said. So far, no enemy has made him feel threatened. From beginning to end, Naruto was cautious enough and would not do anything until he was absolutely sure. It is precisely because of this that every time Naruto fights with others, he does it after being fully prepared. Finally, Naruto talked about how he conquered the other 4 of the 5 major nations, and let others conquer the smaller nations. Kushina immediately hugged Naruto tightly. As expected of my child. If you want to do something great, you must do something great. Namikaze Minato couldn't help but sigh. Naruto, you really surprised me. Those opponents, even I have to deal with carefully, but you can defeat them so easily. How different are you now? Orochimaru said with a dark smile. If you want to know, you might as well go see it with your own eyes. He should still be fighting him now. Namikaze Minato immediately noticed the important point. Now? Does that mean you've been fighting for a long time? Kushina couldn't help but feel nervous. Listening to Naruto telling how the previous battles were easily resolved, now it seems like the battle took a long time. How strong is that enemy? Naruto said with a smile. Don't worry, the main body will not be life-threatening. After all, the main body still allows us clones to act outside, which shows that he has enough margin. Namikaze Minato asked. Who is the enemy? How could he fight with you for so long? Although Namikaze Minato doesn't know how long he played. But for Naruto, who has defeated the 5 Kage now, this is a situation that should not happen. Kushina looked at Orochimaru. She knew that asking Naruto would definitely not give an answer, so it would be quicker to ask Orochimaru directly. Orochimaru naturally knows who it is. After all, it was with his help that Uchiha Madara gained such strength. You should also know, even though you have never met him in person. Namikaze Minato and Kushina's brows suddenly frowned. Orochimaru glanced at Naruto vaguely, and found that the other party had no intention of stopping him, and he couldn't help but feel relieved. It's Uchiha Madara. Orochimaru spread his hands and showed an evil smile. What? Kushina exclaimed, her face full of disbelief. He is dead. She was about to say something, but found that she couldn't continue. Orochimaru said. Yes, he is already dead. But just as you have been resurrected, Uchiha Madara has also been resurrected. However, he resurrected himself. I didn't expect Rinnegan to have such an ability. Namikaze Minato frowned slightly. Rinnegan? The first of the 3 major pupil arts? Do those eyes really exist? Orochimaru smiled. Yes, but it's not just Uchiha Madara who has the Rinnegan. Even your son has a Rinnegan, otherwise how do you think you were resurrected? This time, the 2 of them were even more shocked. They looked down at their children, and Naruto was smiling, not refuting Orochimaru's words. In other words, it's the default. How can it be? Kushina couldn't believe it. But Naruto's eyes when he was a child were not Rinnegan. Orochimaru shrugged and said. I thought the Rinnegan was just a legend until it was revealed to me. Also, I understand why Rinnegan appears, because Rinnegan is the advanced level of Sharingan. Namikaze Minato's frown deepened. That's not right, Naruto doesn't have a Sharingan. Orochimaru said with a gloomy smile. No, he does. Although he does not have the blood of the Uchiha clan, he did awaken the Sharingan. He even deceived Danzo by awakening Sharingan, causing Danzo to fall into a daze and torture himself to death. Now he has become a useless person. Mentioning Danzo, Kushina couldn't help but show a disgusted expression. Is that old guy not dead yet? Orochimaru said with a chuckle. I won't live much longer. Naruto said quite innocently at this time. What I don't want is that he always has bad intentions towards me, and I'm just self-defense. Just like when you, Orochimaru, were also interested in my body and wanted to snatch it from me. Orochimaru's breath froze, and then he said with a smile. It was just that I couldn't see the difference between us at the beginning and had some delusions. Now I don't dare to go beyond even facing your shadow clone. However, it is true that I still have this delusion, and I will not lie about it. Kushina suddenly stared at Orochimaru fiercely. As long as I'm here, get away from me. Naruto, let's go. With that said, he took Naruto's hand and left Orochimaru's secret base without any explanation. Namikaze Minato watched them leave, and then asked seriously. There is one thing I want to ask you, Inver. Orochimaru smiled and said. You don't even have the honorific anymore. It doesn't matter, it's me who is to blame. If you want to ask about the price of resurrection, then I can tell you.
A life for a life. Namikaze Minato's eyes suddenly widened.
Could it be said that Naruto, no. If Naruto sacrifices himself, Shadow Clone cannot appear. It is not the transformation technique used by others, otherwise I would not be able to recognize it. Orochimaru said with an admiring smile. Yes, Naruto did not sacrifice his own ecology. However, he has already prepared other options, which are nothing more than some death row prisoners waiting for execution. In my opinion, exchanging these mortal lives for the lives of some useful people is a very suitable deal.
However, you must not be able to accept it, right?
Namikaze Minato said seriously. How come? After all, it was our child who worked so hard to bring us back to life. How can we blame him? Even if he becomes the sinner of the entire ninja world for this, we are not qualified to blame him. Orochimaru was not surprised by this answer. As expected of you, you were always very clear about this.
But if it hadn't been like this, you wouldn't have become the enemy's nightmare on the battlefield.
Namikaze Minato paused and said. By the way, what happened to Uchiha Madara? Why would Naruto fight him? Orochimaru smiled gloomily and then said. This matter goes back to the battle between Uchiha Madara and First Generation. Rat, and I learned all this from your son, although I don't know why Naruto knows this very well. In that battle, Uchiha Madara did not die. Instead, he made himself out of the public eye and made some arrangements and foreshadowing. Then he waited and hibernated for a long time. When Orochimaru told Namikaze Minato about the past of Uchiha Madara being deceived by Black Zetsu, Kushina also pulled Naruto's clone outside the secret base. As soon as he went out, he saw an extremely dazzling white light in the distance. Although they are very far apart, they can be seen clearly. What Kushina originally wanted to ask turned into an exclamation. What is that? Naruto said calmly. Oh, that's the main body fighting Uchiha Madara. But don't worry, Uchiha Madara can't defeat the original form.
Although Uchiha Madara has improved a lot during this period, it still cannot pose a threat to the main body.
Kushina looked at Naruto seriously and found that he did not say these words to comfort her, and she was immediately relieved. But she thought about it and asked her doubts. Naruto, tell me the truth. What price did it cost you to resurrect us? Naruto smiled and said. I'm not paying the price, I'm passing the cost on to other people. It is true that using Rinnegan to resurrect requires sacrificing a lot of life force, but I inserted the pipeline to pay the price into the death row prisoners who had already been prepared, so that when I cast the spell, they would automatically become the ones to be sacrificed. Kushina couldn't bear to look at her child, then sighed and said. Child, don't you think this is cruel? Naruto looked at Kushina in confusion and said. This is just your one-sided idea, mother. If you knew what those death row prisoners had done, you might blame me for why I traded their hearts for your and your father's lives. Hearing Naruto say this, Kushina frowned. Being able to let Naruto say this, Kushina couldn't help but start to think of what happened to her when she was a child.
The days when the country was destroyed and people were displaced.
It's a nightmare for Kushina. During that time, Kushina witnessed too many dark sides of human nature. Even when she was brought to Konoha as a child because she was chosen to be a Jinchuriki, she knew a fact that made her despair. The woman who was the first Nine Tails Jinchuriki and also the wife of the First Generation, her people told her personally. The purpose of their coming here is to become the container of Nine Tails, to become the container for the village to control Nine Tails. This fact made her extremely desperate when she was a child, and she refused to accept all the good intentions around her, because it made her not need to distinguish whether others had malicious intentions. But in the days that followed, a golden flash shone into her life, turning her into a girl with a normal personality. Although he is still aggressive, he no longer carries so much hatred. The only thing that made her feel pity was that she had just given birth to her child, but she couldn't even spend a day with her child. However, this regret may now be made up for. However, her child now seems different from what she imagined.
He clearly looks like an 8-year-old child.
But her face looked extremely calm, and even made her feel a bit majestic. Kushina has only experienced this situation from those in power. But the appearance of her son made her feel a little awkward.
Therefore, although she was very happy to be reunited with her son.
But she was kind-hearted, but she couldn't accept Naruto's use of other people's lives to resurrect her. Even if those people themselves are extremely evil people, it is the same. Naruto could see from Kushina's eyes that his kind mother still couldn't accept this fact. So, Naruto chuckled and said, "Don't worry, it's just that I'm too eager to meet you, so I can't wait."
I'm still improving this technique. If I continue to improve it successfully, I won't need to sacrifice one's life force.
When Kushina heard this, she couldn't help but said tangledly,
Although I know you want to see us, if you have such confidence, why don't you wait until the moment when you don't need to sacrifice other people's lives?
"No. You still want to resurrect some people?"
Also, there is no need to sacrifice a person's vitality, so what are you going to sacrifice? This kind of technique cannot be used without any cost.
Kushina looked at Naruto anxiously. She was afraid of hearing from Naruto's mouth that Naruto would be the one to sacrifice. Although this possibility is not high, because this technique itself requires the sacrifice of the caster's own vitality. Now that Naruto has improved to the point where he can use other people's life force instead, there is no need to continue to use his own life force. Kushina's worries just stem from her emotions as a mother. As long as you think a little rationally, you should know that Naruto is not referring to his own life force. So, Naruto said with a chuckle, "Don't worry, it's not mine, nor anyone else's, nor those animals. I'm researching and using the vitality of my position as a supplement."
After all, normally, the vitality of plants lasts longer than humans. You can often see old trees that have grown for hundreds of years in the deep mountains and old forests.
A person can't live that long. When Kushina heard this, she immediately relaxed. Huh. Since that's the case, I'm relieved. But, will this research take a long time? Of course Naruto shook his head and said, "No, maybe the research will be completed soon."
After all, the main body has specially divided 3,000 of us to study this kind of thing. Kushina's eyes suddenly widened. 3,000.
You mean, you separated 3,000 shadow clone? This. If all of this returned to the original body, would you be able to bear it? Kushina suddenly became anxious again. As a Konoha native, she naturally understands why the multiple shadow clone techniques are listed as forbidden techniques. Just because too many shadow clone are separated, a large amount of chakra and physical strength will be extracted, and when the shadow clone is released, the memory of the superstar is poured into the brain at the same time, which can directly injure or even destroy the human brain. But Kushina has never heard of anyone making as many as 3,000 shadow clone. Maybe someone like First Hokage can handle hundreds. But 3,000 is too much. Just imagining it made Kushina feel a wave of fear. If these shadow clones are released at the same time, will she lose her son? Naruto said with a smile. "Don't worry, I'm already very proficient at this kind of thing. Improvements will not put too much pressure on the body. After all, we will transmit some memories back in real time, so even if we are all released at the same time, the main body will not be too burdened. We are very cautious people and never take risky actions." But even though Naruto said this, Kushina was still very worried.
Because, in the past, she had seen people who were tortured crazy by multiple shadow clone techniques.
That was not a situation that any medical ninjutsu could treat. Once driven crazy, this person will be completely useless. Therefore, even though the son in front of her vouched for it, Kushina was not very worried. At this time, Naruto looked beyond Kushina and looked behind her. "Father, are you done talking?" Naruto said with a smile. Namikaze Minato was a little embarrassed. He just stayed behind just to confirm the current situation with Orochimaru. The result was revealed directly by Naruto. But soon, before he had time to say anything, he saw Kushina throwing herself at him with a worried look on her face. "Minato. Naruto actually created 3,000 shadow clone."
Namikaze Minato's face instantly became serious.
"Is that true?" Naruto nodded and said, "It is true." Namikaze Minato said seriously, "Do you know the consequences?" Naruto chuckled again and said, "For me, there are no consequences."
I won't do anything I'm not sure about, father.
Looking at Naruto's expression, Namikaze Minato's serious face softened and revealed a gentle smile. "Since you know what's going on, I won't say more. I trust you. However, I don't like the title father. You will call me daddy from now on." When Kushina heard this, she came back to her senses.
You also have to call me mom. Don't call me mother, just listen. Naruto's eyes suddenly wandered. Well, it's better not to give up. I'm not a child anymore.
Joke. Before I traveled through time, I was a man of about the same age.
Calling out father and mother is now the limit.
Don't let him call you mom or dad. By the way, where are you planning to go first? In order to prevent Namikaze Minato and Kushina from continuing to struggle with the issue of address, Naruto had to change the topic. Do you want to see the scene of the main body fighting, or see the changes that the main body is making to the world? Sure enough, the topic immediately attracted their attention. Kushina looked at Namikaze Minato, who smiled and touched Naruto's shoulder. Although I really want to see what you are really doing, since you are still here, it means you are not in danger. That puts me at ease. In that case, let me first go see the changes you mentioned. I want to see what changes my children have made for the world. Namikaze Minato's tone was full of pride. Apparently, he had learned some information from Orochimaru.
Kushina made a decision after seeing Namikaze Minato. Although she really wanted to see Naruto in her heart, she still planned to act with Namikaze Minato.
At least he didn't want to trouble Naruto too much.
Then I also. If mother wants to see the original body, then go and have a look.
Naruto interrupted Kushina with a smile. Although Naruto has the observation haki that can briefly foresee the future, he has not yet reached the ability to see through other people's thoughts. In fact, Kushina's thoughts are all on her face, and anyone with a discerning eye can see it at a glance. So, as soon as Naruto finished speaking, a clone appeared in front of them. Let me take mother to see the original body. The new Naruto clone smiled and held out his hand.
Kushina was obviously stunned for a moment, and subconsciously stretched out her hand to hold it.
Namikaze Minato said with a smile. I almost forgot, there are many of you, right?
Then are you all together? Why can't I feel so many? I can only feel about 100 or so.
Naruto said in surprise. I didn't expect that my father could sense such a wide range, but we are distributed throughout the ninja world. The purpose is to monitor the entire ninja world and nip any signs of danger in the bud. Namikaze Minato nodded in understanding and said. I see, I thought you were usually studying various ninjutsu, but I didn't expect you would do so many things. Naruto said with a smile. This can also be regarded as a kind of practice, training our perception ability. Now we can basically perceive everything within dozens of kilometers around us. Namikaze Minato is not surprised by this number. Because his own perception ability is very powerful.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to sense the existence of hundreds of Naruto clones at the same time. As a member of the Uzumaki clan, Kushina's perception is equally astonishing, but it has not reached the level of Namikaze Minato, and before, she only focused on Naruto in front of her and did not sense the surrounding situation.
Now after listening to what the two said, I felt it myself and found that there were indeed many similar, familiar and reassuring auras.
They are all clones of Naruto. Kushina, go to the child first and confirm his safety for me. Namikaze Minato said thoughtfully. Kushina nodded and rushed over impatiently. He was a top-notch strongman, but he was originally weak due to childbirth and suffered a shameful sneak attack, which led to his death. In a normal battle, with her extremely superb sealing skills, she would be worthy of even the 5 shadows. And there is no need to be distracted to suppress 9 tails, which allows Kushina to maximize its strength.
The later Naruto clone said to Namikaze Minato. Then I'm going, father. After saying that, he nodded slightly and immediately followed Kushina's footsteps.
Watching the two people go away, Namikaze Minato turned to look at the Naruto clone beside him. Why do I feel that your names are so unfamiliar? And they are not at all like names that a child would say.
Did you receive the kind of education similar to that of a noble child since you were a child? Namikaze Minato still had a smile on her face.
This made Naruto chuckle internally. I wonder how Namikaze Minato would feel if he knew how difficult Naruto's life was as a child.
Of course, now Sarutobi Hiruzen is dead. Even if Namikaze Minato knows now, he can't do anything else.
Let's go, father, I'll take you to see the recent changes in the village.
Naruto did not answer Namikaze Minato's words, but led the way. Good. Namikaze Minato is funny under the leadership of Naruto. The Namikaze sect returned to Konoha after a long absence.
But at this time, Konoha was no longer what he was familiar with.
These barriers are. With Namikaze Minato's powerful perception ability, he suddenly sensed that there were many more layers of barriers outside the village. And these enchantments gave him a very subtle feeling. Naruto explained. I just arranged this recently to prevent enemy invasion.
The barrier has no loopholes and can be entered freely. It will only block one type of person.
Namikaze Minato asked curiously. Who? Naruto smiled slightly. The barrier will not let people with strong ill intentions enter. On the contrary, depending on the strength of the malicious intent, the results will give different feedback. If the malicious intent is low, it will only serve as a warning to the village. But if the malicious intent is high, the barrier will attack the intruder. Namikaze Minato said in surprise. I didn't expect that there would be such an exquisite barrier. So, those trees exuding the aura of chakra are the base of the barrier. What will happen if they are destroyed? Naruto said with a smile. As expected of my father, he saw the problem at a glance. So, in order to protect these formations, I have also set up counterattack barriers around them, which will counterattack according to the intensity of the enemy's attack. The stronger the attack, the stronger the counterattack. Namikaze Minato nodded and walked in calmly. He has no hostility towards Konoha and naturally will not trigger the slightest reaction. But as they moved forward, the two met an acquaintance. When the other party saw Namikaze Minato, he was even more stunned. Fourth generation. Nara Shikaku couldn't help but wiped his eyes, unable to believe the situation in front of him. Especially when I saw Namikaze Minato's normal eyes, it was even more incredible. If it weren't for impure world reincarnation, would Namikaze Minato be resurrected? But how is this possible? Is this real? Nara Shikaku subconsciously turned his head to look at Naruto. In his mind, Naruto was the only one who could do such a thing. If you want the answer, naturally you can only get it from Naruto's mouth. You read that right, he is the person in your memory. Naruto smiled and admitted Nara Shikaku's suspicion. Namikaze Minato also looked at Nara Shikaku with a smile. Long time no see, long time. Nara's eyes widened. Although this is not the first time I have seen someone resurrected. He had already seen Uchiha Madara resurrected once before. But after all, he was the guy who was once called the god of the ninja world. No matter what he did, Nara Shikaku felt that he could accept it. But the person in front of him now is his former comrade in arms and good friend, and he is someone he admires greatly. What Nara Shikaku couldn't understand even more was how Namikaze Minato was resurrected. After all, resurrection is not something that is very easy to achieve. Could it be? Nara Shikaku immediately turned to look at Naruto. He immediately felt that the only person who could do such a thing was Naruto. But he still couldn't think of how Naruto did it. As you guessed, it was me who resurrected my father. Of course, there is also Mother, but Mother wanted to see the real body and did not come back. Naruto explained with a smile. Nara Shikaku said with emotion. I didn't expect you to be able to do it to this extent. Although when you led the children to grow up at an extremely fast speed, I knew that you could do something great. I didn't expect that I could even resurrect others. But what's the price? Nara Shikaku was not surprised that the person standing before him was not Naruto himself. After all, the battle between Naruto and Uchiha Madara is not over yet, so what appears in front of him cannot be his true form. However, Nara Shikaku is still a smart person, and he immediately realized what was hidden in the resurrection. For example, cost. Naruto had no intention of hiding this. Although both Namikaze Minato and Kushina have a bit of a moral obsession. But in front of him, Nara Shikaku, the squad leader of Konoha Jonin and Konoha's think tank, did not have such a problem. One life for another. This is not beyond my expectation. Nara Shikaku nodded while holding his chin. But using the lives of criminals to save talents who are useful to society is indeed a good deal. Namikaze Minato didn't like such a topic, so he said. Let's talk about this later. Can you take me to see the surroundings now? It has been several years since I left Konoha. I have just seen a lot of changes. I wonder if there are any other changes in the village? Nara Shikaku said following Namikaze Minato's words. The changes are naturally huge. After all, your son has done amazing things in the past 2 years. But the village might seem a little empty. Namikaze Minato asked confused. Empty? What did people do? Nara Shikaku looked at Naruto with a smile and said. You have to ask your precious son. Looking at Namikaze Minato who turned to look at him in confusion, Naruto said with a smile. Nothing, they were just sent out to conquer those small countries. Namikaze Minato said in surprise. You not only unified the 5 major countries. Do you also want to unify the entire ninja world? Naruto nodded naturally and said. Of course, since we want to unify, we can't let anyone go. Only when they are under an order will unnecessary disputes be reduced. Nara Shikaku nodded and said. As long as Naruto can maintain the current suppressive power, no one will dare to cause trouble under Naruto's nose until Naruto dies. Naruto said while holding his chin. In fact, I'm going to set an end based on the Rinne Tensai technique. A barrier that covers the entire ninja world. Nara Shikaku asked with interest. Is this jutsu the ninjutsu you aimed at resurrecting the fourth generation? What are you planning to do in the entire ninja world? Resurrection of those who died. This is impossible, it would consume too much vitality. Naruto said with a shrug. What am I doing something so thankless? Birth, old age, illness and death are normal for human beings. Just because I have the ability to resurrect others, I cannot abuse this ability. Otherwise, the overpopulation will definitely cause the entire world to collapse. Nara Shikaku nodded and said, that's true. So what is your purpose of setting up a barrier like that? Namikaze Minato also looked at his son with great curiosity. I don't know what kind of surprising answer Naruto will give. At least they couldn't guess. Naruto smiled inexplicably and said. If the life force of the murderer will be transferred to the person he killed at the moment he kills, and the dead will be resurrected. Then does anyone dare to kill anyone? Nara Shikaku was suddenly startled, and Namikaze Minato fell into a sluggish state. Nara Shikaku was lost in thought. If at the moment of killing, the life force of a person without any resistance is absorbed and the life force is transferred into the body of the person being killed, can it be used in reverse? There's a loophole, Naruto. Nara Shikaku immediately said the question that came to his mind. If a dying person, in order to live a new life, spends a lot of money to let someone kill him, and then resurrects with the help of this person's life force, will the dying person inherit the life force of the murderer? In this way, it can be achieved immortality in a sense? Namikaze Minato looked at Nara Shikaku in surprise. He was still thinking about the moral and ethical aspects of this matter. As a result, Nara Luju has discovered a huge loophole. Indeed, if this condition is true, there will definitely be people who are willing to use this method to live forever. Naruto said with a smile. Yes, but only if I don't set any other restrictions. Since I plan to use such a barrier to completely solve the problem of the ninja world killing each other. That grip will definitely prevent all kinds of holes. Just like what you said, using other people's life force to make myself immortal, as long as I set in advance that the life force absorbed cannot exceed the original amount, then no matter how many people kill him, when he should die, it will be when will he die. It's very simple to do this. However, as expected of the Nara family, they discovered the first loophole so quickly. If there are other discoveries, you can continue to bring them forward, which will also help me improve my ideas. Nara Shikaku breathed a sigh of relief and said. Since you already have a plan, I'm relieved. However, this can only avoid killing people, but what if we don't kill people, but torture them? Naruto said as he spread his hands. So, it is still in the research stage, at least this is just an idea of mine. When all problems can be solved, that's when this barrier will take the stage. Namikaze Minato looked at his son in amazement. I didn't expect that you would think so long ago. Naruto smiled slightly and said, for a long time? Maybe. He would not say that with 3,000 clones, it would not take long to solve various situations. It's just that Naruto has other things that require 3,000 clones to complete, and he can't focus on one thing now. Let's go in and have a look, Namikaze Minato said with a smile. The three of them walked into Konoha village, which was protected by layers of barriers. However, as soon as he walked in, the ninja guarding the door was surprised by the presence of Namikaze Minato. A sudden panicked uproar attracted their attention. What happened over there? Namikaze Minato was a little curious. Because he had just seen the many barriers placed by Naruto, Namikaze Minato did not think that there would be an enemy invasion. Nara Shikaku frowned slightly and said. She looked panicked, which is not normal. After all, Konoha has now conquered all countries, large and small, in the ninja world, and even the daimyo of the fire country do not dare to resist at all. In this case, the villagers will definitely be very proud, especially those of the Uchiha clan. But now, such a panic situation is obviously unreasonable. It was hard for Nara Shikaku to imagine that under the protection of so many barriers set up by Naruto, something bad would happen inside the village. Let's go and have a look, Naruto said with a smile. Of course he knew what was going on, so he didn't have the slightest expression fluctuation. The two of them looked at Naruto's face and felt relieved inexplicably. Let's go and have a look, Namikaze Minato said and walked over at the lead. Nara Shikaku quickly following Namikaze Minato, just like before. Some people ran around in panic, seemingly seeing an unacceptable scene. Nara Shikaku asked as he grabbed a person. What's going on? What happened? The captured villager saw that it was Nara Shikaku and immediately exclaimed. It's the third generation, Mr. Third Generation is dead. What? Nara Shikaku immediately exclaimed, and subconsciously turned his head to look at Naruto, but thought it was unlikely. Namikaze Minato was a little surprised. Third Generation Sama died? At this time? Namikaze Minato had heard about Konoha's recent achievements, but he never thought that Sarutobi Hiruzen would die at this moment. And looking at the panic on these people's faces, it seems that they are not dying yet. What's going on? Tell me in detail. Namikaze Minato's gentle voice calmed the man down a bit. He looked up at the speaker, his eyes suddenly widened. Fourth generation is evenly balanced? Obviously, the resurrection of the fourth Hokage from the dead shocked him very much. My mouth was wide open and I couldn't close it at all. Naruto was unfazed by Nara Shikaku's slightly offended reaction. After all, Nara Shikaku is a very smart person and immediately realized that Sarutobi Hiruzen's death was not normal. But Naruto believed that Nara Shikaku would soon understand that he had no reason to kill Sarutobi Hiruzen. At least not at this stage. After all, Sarutobi Hiruzen is already old and will die soon. Yes, it's me. Don't be anxious, speak slowly. Namikaze Minato said in a gentle and soothing voice. This person also slowly returned to normal from the panic. It's as if Namikaze Minato's voice is full of magic and can easily calm people down. Okay, Mr. Fourth Generation. The villager calmed down and then said. I don't know the specific process, but when I woke up in the morning, I heard some noise in the direction of the cemetery. So out of curiosity, I walked over and took a look, and found that Mr. Third Generation had fallen to the ground without making a sound. Everyone was surprised and scared. After all, no one heard anything. This situation is really weird. That person is said to be the strongest Hokage in history, he died so quietly. It was calm at first, but as they talked, the villagers became excited again. The strongest Hokage in history? I am afraid it's not the weakest Hokage in history. Nara Shikaku couldn't help but complain in his heart. Can this kind of Hokage who was stabbed to death inside the village be called the fishiest? Stop joking. It seems something is indeed wrong. Nara Shikaku said with a serious expression. The enemy can actually pass through the barrier to assassinate. Is there a loophole in the barrier? As he said that, he looked at Naruto. Naruto said, shaking his head. It's not that there's a loophole, but that Mr. Third Generation died before I set up those barriers. After all, I just set up this barrier not long ago. Namikaze Minato frowned slightly and said, let's go over and check the situation first. Nara Shikaku nodded, and then the three figures disappeared and quickly headed to the cemetery. When they arrived, the place was already separated by some ninjas. The few remaining Anbu all lowered their heads and fell into self-blame. Their responsibility itself is to protect the peace and stability within the village. But inside the village, Hokage was unexpectedly assassinated. This is obviously a slap in their face, but they haven't got the slightest idea yet. Because they don't even know who the enemy is. This, am I right? Is it Mr. Fourth Generation? That isn't Mr. Fourth Generation long ago. Did Naruto take action? He can resurrect the dead? This, in that case, can we also resurrect our dead family members? Is it really possible? Will it cost a lot? After all, we are resurrecting the dead. Do you really want to tell Naruto? If the price is too high, will it embarrass Naruto? Forget it. It's better not to say anything, just pretend we don't know. Indeed, we are not sure why fourth generation Sama was able to survive. It may not be Naruto's doing. The surrounding voices immediately became noisier after a brief pause when they saw Namikaze Minato. Obviously, there was no preparation at all for the appearance of Namikaze Minato. Too suddenly. Minato? Is it really you? Mitokado Homura opened his old eyes in surprise and looked at Namikaze Minato. He didn't expect that something so surprising would happen today. It's me. Namikaze Minato's face was rather grim. But the most important thing now is the situation of third generation Sama. How could Mr. Third Generation be assassinated in the village? With the strength of third generation Sama, it should be impossible for this to happen. Namikaze Minato is familiar with Sarutobi Hiruzen's strength. Although he passed away for more than 8 years, he was confident that Sarutobi Hiruzen's strength would not improve much in the past 8 years. And if you want to kill Sarutobi Hiruzen inside the village without alerting others, there are only a few people who can do it. And his son Naruto happens to be the one who can do this. Namikaze Minato looked at Naruto subconsciously, but saw Naruto's calm expression. Not Naruto. Namikaze Minato made a judgment immediately. But Naruto must know what's going on. Namikaze Minato is very confident. Because Naruto said before, Naruto's 3,000 clones are distributed throughout the ninja world, monitoring all situations in the ninja world. Naturally, what happened in Sleepy Leaf could not escape Naruto's monitoring. It's even possible that Naruto was watching when Sarutobi Hiruzen was killed. But why? Namikaze Minato is a bit incomprehensible. Now that he knew someone was going to kill Sarutobi Hiruzen, why didn't Naruto stop him and instead allowed him to kill Sarutobi Hiruzen? How many things are there that he doesn't know about? Did Sarutobi Hiruzen do something that Naruto can't forgive? In short, Namikaze Minato has too many questions in his mind, and Naruto can give him the answers to all of them. But now is obviously not the right time to answer. After all, there are too many people around. Hiruzen's matter will never let go. How dare you sneak into the village and do such an unforgivable thing while everyone in the village is out? Absolutely unforgivable, Utatane Kaharu said viciously. Mitokado Homura also looked serious. Hiruzen's question is important, but Minato, your question is also important. How did you survive? Is it Naruto? Mitokado Homura turned his attention to Naruto. If possible, can you bring Hiruzen back to life? Naruto shook his head decisively and said, no, if you want to resurrect someone else, you need to sacrifice another person's life. Utatane Kaharu said immediately. What's the problem? Just find a death row prisoner. For a mere death row prisoner, letting him play his final role before death is also the redemption for the evil deeds he has committed. Namikaze Minato shouted decisively, no. Utatane Kaharu immediately stared at Namikaze Minato with a sinister gaze. What? You can sacrifice others to resurrect, but can't you resurrect others using the same means? If Naruto can do it, then he needs to resurrect Hiruzen. Don't forget. Naruto, you are where you are today. It's all because Hiruzen raised you. Naruto looked at the somewhat hysterical Utatane Kaharu calmly and said. I said no, that means no. Also, the person who killed the third generation was Orochimaru, I can tell you that. I was watching when the third generation was killed, and I can tell you that. Naruto told these things in such an indifferent voice that the whole place suddenly became silent. Everyone looked at Naruto and felt so strange. It was obvious that Naruto from before would smile kindly when facing them. But now, the expressionless Naruto made them feel extremely strange. Utatane Kaharu's expression kept changing. First he blushed with anger, turned to surprise, and finally turned pale with horror. Yes, it was you. Did you kill Danzo? Naruto nodded and acknowledged the gift, Kaharu said. He was the one who plotted against me first, I was just protecting myself. Mitokado Homura frowned and said. If you don't talk about Danzo in advance, it's his own fault. What about Kyuujon? How can he feel sorry for you? Naruto said calmly, he has nothing to do with me. But, do you think his dog is worthy of the trust my parents have in him? Mitokado Homura suddenly hesitated. This. Hiruzen is also for your safety. Naruto sneered. My parents, as heroes of the village, sacrificed their lives to seal the raging nine tails again. But I, as the son of a hero, did not get the respect my parents sacrificed themselves for. Instead, I became the most annoying character in the village. Why is that? Mitokado Homura was suddenly speechless. Utatane Kaharu said coldly. Huh, I told you it's for your safety. You are Jinchuriki, and you are still a baby. The village was so badly destroyed at that time, I don't know how many spies from enemy villages broke in. If something goes wrong with this important Jinchuriki like you, it will be an absolutely unacceptable loss to the village. Namikaze Minato's eyes gradually turned cold. He and Kushina sacrificed their lives to save Naruto, but after their deaths, Naruto's life was not good? Even very miserable? This immediately gave Namikaze Minato a sick feeling. As a father, he now wanted to shoot the two old guys in front of him to death on the spot. But he suppressed his anger and did not explode. He wanted to hear what Naruto had to say. Naruto said coldly. As a concealment, I can understand it as a normal orphan. But how do you plan to explain the rumor about the demon fox's incarnation? Are you afraid that others won't know about my relationship with Nine Tails? Does this still count as protecting me? And I also used this to let the villagers vent all their resentment against Nine Tails on me. Since I was 4 years old, I have never bought food within the shelf life, and I am not allowed to enter any store. Why are these? Utatane Kaharu said with a cold snort. This is what Danzo did, we can't interfere, Hiruzen also has his reasons. Namikaze Minato asked coldly. Oh? What's the reason? Can you let me hear it? The voice was gentle, but it contained a biting coldness. It made Udatain Kaharu and Mitokado Homura shudder. They felt a very targeted murderous intention from Namikaze Minato. They didn't have a good answer. What awaited them was Namikaze Minato's thunderous attack. Even in public at this moment, they knew that Namikaze Minato would not hesitate at all. Just like when Namikaze Minato ruthlessly harvested the lives of those people on the battlefield. Gouda. Mitokado Homura moved his Adam's apple with difficulty. Well, it's hard to explain this, Naruto said with a sneer. There's nothing to explain. Isn't it just that Danzo wants to control the tailed beasts for his own selfish purposes, so as to squeeze out the third generation and make himself Hokage Naruto? Namikaze Minato's face became even more indifferent. He could not imagine what a painful childhood his young child had suffered. Just listening to these words was already unbearable for him. The anger in his heart kept surging. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many people at the scene, Namikaze Minato would have killed the two old guys in front of him. Mitokado Homura had beads of sweat constantly appearing on his forehead, and he could feel Namikaze Minato's increasingly obvious murderous intent. But Udatain Kaharu said coldly, as if his head was missing a string. Danzo and Hiruzen both focus on the overall situation. After all, you are Nine Tails Jinchuriki, with a special meaning. If you were to live like an ordinary person, how would you understand the meaning of Jinchuriki? In fact, the fact that you are as strong as you are must be due to the two of them. The person who said sneered. Indeed, the credit is quite big. After all, if I don't work hard, I will become that guy Danzo's puppet. It's like a root in his hand. Namikaze Minato said through gritted teeth. Enough. Give you 3 seconds to leave my sight, otherwise. He didn't say what he would do, but the murderous Namikaze Minato at this moment itself represents what he wants to do. Udatain Kaharu wanted to say something else, but Mitokado Homura just pulled Udatain Kaharu out of the way. When the two disappeared, Namikaze Minato's aura slowly disappeared, and his face looked a little downcast. I'm sorry, Naruto, I've made you suffer all these years. If Kushina and I were still here, this would definitely not happen. When Namikaze Minato said this, he didn't even dare to look into Naruto's eyes. In his opinion, Naruto's bad childhood was entirely caused by them. If they are still alive, it's a pity that, with all his trust in Sarutobi Hiruzen, he never expected that this would be the case. If he knew, he would not sacrifice himself even if he ignored the raging Nine Tails. Naruto said expressionlessly. They are right. If I didn't feel threatened, I wouldn't have made such rapid progress. But I will definitely not forgive them. Nara Shikaku had been listening, and then sighed and said. They are all blinded by power. The third generation master used to be so heroic, but now, he has fallen to this point. Namikaze Minato said with a sigh. When I became Hokage, I felt a sense of responsibility. But what about them? What do they feel when they are in a high position? Is being tight just a right? Naruto said calmly. Greedy. Being in a high position, they have seen too much and want to have too much, which breeds their greedy hearts. Let's go, father, there's nothing to see here. As he said that, he took the lead. People automatically separated and made way. After all three people left, the crowd suddenly broke into a heated discussion. Am I right? Is that really Mr. Fourth Generation? But the fourth generation Sama has already. Naruto must have done it. Naruto has done so many incredible things. Although resurrection may sound unreliable, I think Naruto can do it. However, I didn't expect that the people at the top would be so dirty inside. I'm not surprised at all. You young people must not know the reason why Konoha's White Fang committed suicide in the first place. Konoha's White Fang. I seem to have heard of it, but I don't seem to have heard of it. That was more than 20 years ago. Young people today may not have even heard of it. Speaking of the fact that the third generation has passed away, who will take over as the Hokage next? The fourth generation, or is Naruto going to be the fifth Hokage? It should be fourth generation Sama, right? After all, Naruto is still young. When he grows up, he may be able to take over the position of Hokage. Naruto is really amazing. I heard that other big countries were completely conquered by Naruto in just a few days. Kakashi and the others are not bad either. Aren't they the ones who took care of all those small countries? Now we in Konoha are truly the strongest ninja village. Ninja village? You are really short-sighted. Now the entire ninja world belongs to us in Konoha. That's right. The ninja village belongs to us Konoha. And all of this is due to Naruto. Long live Naruto. Yes, long live Naruto. Long live. Listening to the sudden shouting behind him, Naruto didn't have any idea. He wanted to unify the ninja world just so that there would no longer be war. It's not about gaining other people's admiration. Namikaze Minato looked back in surprise, and then looked at Naruto. Naruto, it seems you are doing well. Do you want to take over Hokage's position? I don't think anyone will stop you. Nara Shikaku said with a smile. Yes, in fact we have been waiting for too long. Ever since Naruto said he wanted to unify the ninja world and successfully implemented it, we knew that sooner or later Naruto would become the Hokage, or even the only Kage in the entire world, to take charge of the entire ninja world. But Naruto is too young and has never said anything about it, so we just wait and wait for the day when Naruto opens his mouth. Saying that, Nara Shikaku looked at Naruto eagerly. Naruto said calmly, I will, but not now. Now, please ask my father to sit in that position and work hard for a while. When I grow up, I will take over Hokage's position. Then my father will be able to spend more time with my mother. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. I know, I will wait for you. Everyone will also wait for you to grow up. Then, Namikaze Minato sighed again. Naruto, how did you train? To be able to have such a powerful force at this age. Nara Shikaku said with a smile. To be honest, we are also very curious, but even though it seems to be very ordinary training, the speed of progress is incredible. Even those people taught by Naruto will make rapid progress. The Jonin have also improved greatly under Naruto's teachings, otherwise we wouldn't be able to sweep the entire ninja world with the power of one village. After all, those small countries can exist because they have some bottom-of-the-line things. Naruto just smiled lightly and didn't say anything. At first, Naruto was a little confused, but then he figured it out. It's probably caused by his ability to break through limits and constantly practice to become stronger. This ability is likely to affect not only Naruto, but also people around Naruto. Therefore, as long as these people are still by Naruto's side, each of them will continue to break forward without any end. Of course, Naruto himself knew about this. Therefore, even though Naruto's strength has left his friends far behind, Naruto still has enough expectations. I hope his friends can catch up with him one day. Although this hope is very slim, it is not impossible. Moreover, Naruto does not require them to catch up with him in all aspects. Naruto only needs to improve to a level close to Naruto in the aspects they are best at. Naruto is very satisfied. Otherwise, Naruto didn't know if his future self could endure the loneliness of being the strongest. Namikaze Minato asked curiously, where do we go next? Although there have been many changes around me, there are still many places that are exactly the same as in my memory. Ichiraku Ramen is still here. But the shop has changed. In the past, it was just a cart. Seeing the familiar store, Namikaze Minato immediately walked over with a smile. Namikaze Minato has been to this place many times and does not need Naruto or Shikaku to lead the way. Welcome. He said the welcome word skillfully, but when he saw the person walking in, his eyes that had been squinted all year round couldn't help but stare at the sky. Mr. Fourth Generation? Am I dreaming? How can this be? Hans rubbed his eyes in disbelief, and found that Namikaze Minato still had that warm sunny smile, no change at all from the one in his memory. Only then did he realize that he was not dazzling. Namikaze Minato really appeared in front of him. Although, I don't know why the dead Namikaze Minato suddenly came back to life. But he doesn't need to think about that. He is just an ordinary person and does not understand the things or powers of those big shots. Seeing Namikaze Minato again, I couldn't help but shed tears in my eyes. Is that true? You are back? Looking at Namikaze Minato blankly, his body couldn't help but tremble with his hands. Namikaze Minato said with a smile, it's me, I'm back. Exactly, I haven't eaten the noodles you cooked for a long time. After I made Kushina angry, I had no choice but to come to your place to eat noodles. Listening to Namikaze Minato's kind words, a bright smile suddenly appeared on Tahida's face. Don't worry. I will definitely cook the most delicious noodles for you. Wait a moment. With that said, hand beating began to get busy in full swing. Apparently he was planning to show off his true skills. Even Naruto couldn't help but be speechless. I haven't seen you for a long time. I didn't expect that Uncle's hand beating skills have improved so much. It seems that my meatball shop can't lag behind. Naruto said with a smile. Namikaze Minato suddenly looked at Naruto in surprise. Naruto, you also opened a meatball shop? Nara Shikaku said with a smile. More than that, Naruto has almost a monopoly on the meatball business in Konoha. Many people can't compete with him. After all, the meatballs sold by Naruto are very affordable, and there are a variety of flavors to choose from. There are many people who would rather eat less rice and eat more meatballs, which shows how popular Naruto's meatballs are. Namikaze looked at Naruto in amazement. I never thought you had such a talent, Naruto. Naruto said with a smile, want to try it? I can have the clone from the meatball shop deliver it right now. With that said, Naruto snapped his fingers. The next moment, a gust of wind swept past. A Naruto carrying a huge food box appeared at the door of the noodle shop. Naruto meatball shop, with all kinds of flavors. With that said, Naruto opened the food box, and a golden light seemed to bloom inside the food box, which was so exciting that Namikaze Minato couldn't even open his eyes. After Namikaze Minato got used to it, when she opened her eyes, she saw colorful, Madara-colored meatballs. These meatballs are simply works of art. It's hard to believe how delicious they are. You did this? Namikaze Minato looked at Naruto in disbelief. Why are there so many meatballs? And they come in so many different colors. The meatballs in my memory don't come in so many colors. Naruto smiled slightly and said, if you want to always maintain an advantage, you can't stand still, you must always keep moving forward. So, every moment we are studying how to improve the meatballs to make them better and more delicious. Just like practicing, you must not rest on your laurels, but you must continue to innovate so that you can reach new heights. Namikaze Minato couldn't help but nodded and sighed. Perhaps it is because of this fighting spirit that you were able to achieve what you are now. I can't wait to see what changes you will bring to this world. With that said, Namikaze Minato looked down at Naruto and smiled brightly. I believe you will not let us down. Come on over. Shoda shouted at this moment, attracting everyone's attention. Come and try my supreme VIP ramen, which is the most delicious and invincible in the universe. It's definitely a taste you've never tasted before. Namikaze Minato looked at the ramen in front of him in shock. He seemed to see golden light on the ramen. I don't know if it was his imagination, Nara Shikaku said while covering his forehead. Sir, 4th generation, you read that correctly. I don't know since the handmade ramen has this effect. But the taste is nothing to say. If it wasn't too expensive, I would eat it every day. When Namikaze Minato heard this, he was immediately filled with expectations. Really? That's really exciting. He crossed his arms with his hands on his chest, with an expectant smile on his face. Please enjoy. Namikaze Minato picked up the chopsticks and separated them. I'm gonna start now. As soon as he took the first bite, Namikaze Minato felt the indescribable deliciousness bursting in his mouth. And it wasn't just one taste, a variety of different flavors rushed back and forth in his mouth, making him feel something he had never experienced before. That tastes happier than happiness. Namikaze Minato can only be described as such. Then, Namikaze Minato got out of hand and showed his love for this bowl of VIP ramen with an exaggerated and rude behavior. Although Namikaze Minato ate ramen regardless of her status or style. But the others did not look down upon him, but showed a knowing smile. Because they have done these things too. Namikaze Minato ate it very quickly, and there was nothing left, even the soup was swallowed in one gulp. After eating, Namikaze Minato solemnly placed the empty bowl on the table, then stood up and patted his hands and said, thank you very much for allowing me to eat such delicious noodles. While Namikaze Minato heads to Konoha, Uzumaki Kushina followed another Naruto clone and went straight to the location of Naruto's body. The two are extremely fast. In order to see his biological son as soon as possible, Uzumaki Kushina has been moving as fast as possible. Anyway, Kushina is from the Uzumaki clan, and the chakra in her body is comparable to that of a tailed beast. This is why the Uzumaki clan is the most suitable to become Jinchuriki. Because of the huge chakra, it can compete with tailed beasts. Another reason is that the Uzumaki clan is best at sealing techniques. At the same time, the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique for sealing tailed beasts is the most stable. Compared to other ninja villages, Jinchuriki often breaks into riots. Konoha's 9 tails is much more stable. If Obito hadn't sneaked in before and attacked, the 9 tails attack wouldn't have happened. How much longer? Kushina could already feel the huge chakra reaction in the distance. That kind of power shocked her, but she didn't flinch at all. Because she knows her child is ahead, it'll be there soon. Naruto's clone said. Then, after the two people rushed out of a forest, the front suddenly became clear. What appeared in front of them were ruins flattened by the shockwave. And this ruins is more than 10 kilometers long. Not to mention the several bottomless pits, which are even more shocking. Is my child actually participating in this level of fighting? Suddenly, Kushina's heart lifted, although she knew that Naruto should have the upper hand. But seeing the aftermath of the battle, she couldn't help but feel worried. Even if she was slightly contaminated by the aftermath of an attack of this magnitude, she might be killed on the spot. But now, the aftermath of this level of battle appears in the sky from time to time. Obviously, for both parties in the battle, this level is nothing at all. But for Kushina, any attack is enough to break her into pieces. My boy, is he up there? Kushina looked up, but even if she was strong enough, she couldn't see the small figure in the sky. The distance is really too far, Naruto clone said with a nod. Yes, the main body is above. But mother, you don't need to worry, the main body will be fine. Based on Uchiha Madara's strength, it is absolutely impossible to hurt the main body. Kushina turned her head and said worriedly, how can you be so sure? You know, everyone will make mistakes sometimes, if Naruto is not careful. Naruto clone said with a smile, don't worry, we have absolute confidence. If you, mother, knew what kind of power we have, you would be as confident as us. Kushina sighed, although she knew Naruto's clone was telling the truth. But as a mother, Kushina still can't help but worry. After all, what remained in her memory before her death was the weak and fragile look of Naruto as a baby. Now when her son suddenly turned into such a person who could easily destroy the world, Kushina couldn't adapt at all. This takes time. Suddenly, Kushina felt some familiar chakra coming towards this direction. Kushina's attention was immediately drawn. Yes, Kakashi? Kushina was doubtful. But looking at Kakashi who was coming quickly, Kushina didn't know what to say. After all, Kakashi now is very different from the boy Kushina remembered. After Kakashi rushed over, he froze in place in shock. 9. Kushina-sama. How can it be? Naruto clone said with a smile. With me here, how can it be impossible? Kakashi came back to his senses, looked at Naruto and said. Kushina-sama will appear, is it you who did it? But, Kushina-sama already. 8 years ago. Naruto's clone said. So, I brought my mother back to life. It's like Uchiha Madara resurrected herself. Kakashi understands. Although I don't know what price Naruto paid, since Naruto appeared in front of me in peace, even though it was just a shadow clone. But it can also show that the price Naruto paid was within his tolerance. At this moment, Kakashi suddenly had some selfish motives. He wants to resurrect Lin. As for Obito. Thinking of what Obito had done, Kakashi felt mixed emotions in his heart. Don't worry, it won't be long before Mr. Kakashi, you will be able to see her. Kushina was keenly aware of her title and immediately became interested in 8 trigrams. Who is it? Could it be that the brat who has been so cold-faced has finally gotten his wits about him? Kakashi scratched his head helplessly and said. Seeing you as healthy as ever makes me feel more at ease. Backquote. But Naruto, if the price you have to pay is too high, don't do it. Naruto's clone smiled slightly and said. You may have to pay a price, but I am not the one who pays the price. So Kakashi-sensei, there is no need to worry at all. But if Mr. Kakashi is not in a hurry, you can wait for a while. I'm working on using the vitality of plants as an alternative, so that using the Rinne Tensai technique doesn't have to cost one's life. Kakashi's eyes suddenly lit up. Does that mean you can resurrect others without paying any price? Naruto's clone nodded, confirming Kakashi's statement. It's just extracting the vitality of some plants, so it's naturally not a price. Moreover, many trees can live for a long time, and their vitality is naturally very huge. It is much more suitable than exchanging human life. Kakashi immediately realized how valuable this resurrection ability was. But he also knew that this ability might cause trouble to Naruto in the future. Naruto, it's best not to let too many people know about the fact that you can resurrect people. Kakashi said solemnly to Naruto's clone. But Naruto's clone waved his hand and said nonchalantly. There is no need to hide it, because there is no way to hide it. Everyone in the village probably knows now that I can resurrect others. After all, father is in front of them now. Kakashi's eyes suddenly widened. 4th generation Sama is also resurrected? That's right. Since you can resurrect Master Kushina, there is no reason not to resurrect Master 4th generation. Kushina stepped forward and rubbed Kakashi's soft head with her hands. Although Kakashi is taller than Kushina now, to Kushina, Kakashi has always been the cold-faced, stinky brat. You have suffered a lot these years, right? Thank you for always protecting Naruto in secret. Kakashi's face suddenly turned red. It's shameful. Sir, fourth generation, Kakashi wants to say that's not the case. But Kushina just patted her on the shoulder and said with a smile. No need to say more. Whether you obeyed the order or had feelings, at least you protected my child. This alone is enough for me to be grateful. As a descendant of a destroyed country, Kushina has experienced countless things. He is even more aware of the way the top management treats Jinchuriki. Kushina didn't even need to think about it carefully to know that Naruto's life as a child must not have been easy. And Kushina is also convinced that Kakashi will definitely protect her child in her spare time from work. Because Kakashi is Namikaze Minato's disciple. I just did what I was supposed to do. Kakashi still felt a little deserved for this thank you. But he didn't refute, he just stated the facts he could accept. In fact, when Kakashi was still in Anbu, he accepted the mission of Sarutobi Hiruzen and protected Naruto. And it never appeared when Naruto was bullied by his peers. Kakashi only protects Naruto's life safety and doesn't take much care of Naruto's psychology. He had never even appeared in Naruto's sight. No matter what, I still want to thank you, Kushina said softly, then the topic changed. By the way, after all these years, have you found a girl? The topic changed so quickly that Kakashi was stunned on the spot. At this time, Might Guy, who came over later, said subconsciously after hearing this. Kakashi is getting married. Why didn't I know? Wait. You are? Master Kushina. Might Guy looked at Kushina in shock, wiping his eyes violently, unable to believe the scene in front of him. He never imagined that he would see a dead person appear in front of him so alive. Is it Impure World Reincarnation? Might Guy has already seen the strong men of Impure World Reincarnation, although not many. But I also know that there is such a technique that can resurrect the dead. But after careful observation, Might Guy found that Kushina did not have any of the characteristics of people from Impure World Reincarnation. Impure World Reincarnation? Kushina was stunned. She didn't know what it was. Turning to look at Naruto, he asked. Naruto, did you use this technique called Impure World Reincarnation to revive me? Kushina's words immediately caused Might Guy and Kakashi to look at Naruto in shock, and then looked calm. It was Naruto who resurrected Kushina. But yes, Naruto is the only one who can do such a thing. But in the midst of a fierce battle with Uchiha Madara, it is really an exaggeration to be able to make the clone do such a shocking thing. First, there's the exaggeratedly huge world tree in Sanagakure. Now someone who has been dead for a long time has been resurrected. Is there anything else that Naruto can't do? Naruto said with a smile. I did use the steps of Impure World Reincarnation. After all, Mother, you have been dead for 8 years, and your body has decayed, so I can only use reanimation jutsu to give you a passable body. After that, you will be fully resurrected. Kushina nodded confusedly. She didn't understand. But it can be heard that the method Naruto said must be very difficult, otherwise Might Guy and Kakashi would not have such shocked expressions. Especially Kakashi. In Kushina's impression, Kakashi always had a straight face and no expression. This look of shock is really rare now. Kakashi and Might Guy looked at each other and saw the other's disbelief. It's really shocking. Wait. Naruto, can you resurrect the dead? Kakashi suddenly realized something. Then can you? Kakashi desperately wanted to say those two names, but he couldn't hold on. Because Kakashi thought of the price. Ninjutsu that can resurrect others must be expensive, and it may also require a lifespan. Therefore, Kakashi swallowed the words as soon as they came to his lips. After all, in order to resurrect his friend, to harm Naruto's life is something that Kakashi cannot accept. But Naruto said with a smile. Don't worry, although it's not the time yet, it won't be long before Mr. Kakashi, you will be able to see your former partners. Kakashi said in surprise, is it really possible? Obito, Lin. Can I see them again? Kakashi was so surprised that he even shed tears. However, this was Naruto who poured cold water on him. I'm sorry, only Senior Lin can be resurrected. As for the other person, I will not resurrect him. Naruto's words instantly stunned Kakashi on the spot. Then he grabbed Naruto's shoulders and asked excitedly. Why? If Lin can be resurrected, why can't he resurrect King Dai? If a price needs to be paid, I will pay it no matter what it is. Naruto sighed and said, because I killed Obito myself. Like a bolt from the blue, Kakashi was stunned on the spot. You killed it with your own hands. But Obito was already there before you were born. Suddenly, Kakashi's eyes widened. He thought of a possibility. If Obito didn't die at that time, why didn't Obito return to the village? Is the mysterious man who controlled Nine Tails and created the Nine Tails Rebellion when Naruto was born related to Obito? How did Obito obtain such powerful power to control Nine Tails? Was Obito also at the scene of Lin's death? After I was in coma, was Obito the one who killed all the mist shinobi ninjas? It was as if all the fog had been cleared away, and things that Kakashi had been doubting before suddenly became clear. At the same time, Kakashi also understood why Naruto said that he killed the king himself. Because, Obito is not dead at all, and it also became. Is Obito a member of the Akatsuki organization? Kakashi asked with a sad smile. Naruto nodded. That's right. He was also the one who caused the death of my mother and father. So, I will not forgive him. Kushina suddenly looked shocked. Obito, didn't he already? Might Guy's eyes were already spinning. Kakashi's inconsistent words made him completely confused. Naruto said seriously, I'm pretty sure about it. Although Obito was bewitched by others, in the end he was still the one who executed the plan. So, I will never forgive him. The news Naruto said was like a bolt from the blue to Kakashi. Because Kakashi was so determined, Obito sacrificed himself and died in that mission. But now, Naruto told him that Obito was not dead, and was the culprit who killed Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. This news was so shocking that Kakashi couldn't digest it for a while. Although Kakashi soon realized what happened to those incomprehensible things in his memory. But Kakashi still couldn't believe it. After all, the Obito in Kakashi's memory is an extremely kind-hearted and cheerful young man who often helps old ladies cross the road. Kakashi couldn't imagine why someone like Obito would go to this point, and even personally forced Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina to death. Can't tell him it's impossible, but Naruto's determined look told him that this was a fact. There won't be any change in his subjective thoughts. Obito has betrayed the village and their friendship. It turns out that's how it is. Kakashi looked a little lost, and even his eyes became dazed. Kushina looked at Naruto in surprise. Naruto, are you telling the truth? Is that mysterious man really Obito? Naruto nodded and said. It's him, he himself has admitted it. Might Guy is still in a daze. Apparently he still doesn't understand what's going on. Forget it. Let's not talk about him. Kushina was surprised for a moment and then ignored it. Anyway, in her eyes, nothing was as important as Naruto's safety. As long as Naruto was safe, nothing else mattered. And hasn't Naruto already avenged them? Then this matter is not important. By the way, who are you planning to resurrect? Kushina asked curiously. She already knew that it would not be difficult for Naruto to be resurrected soon. In fact, Kushina's first thought was of her family. She lost her parents when her country was destroyed and her family was destroyed when she was a child. She would love to bring them to life if she could. Even if it's just to take another look. In this way, she can also tell them that she is very happy now. Naruto scratched his head and said, there are many people I want to resurrect, but this matter is beyond my control. After all, some people have been dead for too long and do not have enough bodies to support their souls. Even I can hardly resurrect them. Boom! A sudden loud noise attracted everyone's attention. They raised their heads one after another, and the sound came from the sky. The moment they raised their heads, a strong shockwave struck. Naruto immediately stood in front of Kushina, blocking the shockwave. Although a shockwave of this magnitude is nothing to Kushina of the Uzumaki clan. But Naruto still stood in front. He doesn't allow anyone to threaten those around him. So strong. Kushina's eyes widened in shock. She never imagined that the battle would be so intense. This is why she also understands why everyone around her looks like she has been overturned. It turned out that it had really been overturned, and it seemed that it had been overturned more than once. Is this your opponent? Naruto? Kushina looked up, her eyes filled with nervousness. Even if Naruto's clone is right next to him and hasn't dissipated, it means Naruto is fine. But as a mother, she would still worry about Naruto unconsciously. Don't worry, mother. There is no way an attack of this level could threaten me. Naruto looked calm. Might Guy said with a thumbs up. That's right. Master Kushina. Naruto has withstood attacks stronger than this. This level is nothing at all. Kakashi rolled his eyes. Compared to Might Guy, who is relatively slow-minded, Kakashi has more on his mind. He naturally knew that Kushina's worry was due to mother's instinct. How long do they plan to fight? From a distance, Shikamaru said rather helplessly. Everyone with a discerning eye can see that Naruto is much stronger than Uchiha Madara. The outcome of this battle has already been determined. Ya said indifferently. Who knows what Naruto is thinking? But now I'm curious about what's going on over there. Who do you think Mr. Kakashi found? Why did he get there in such a hurry? Yuhi Hong next to her was quite uncertain. After all, her perception ability is not very strong, she just vaguely felt the familiar feeling of this chakra. Amid familiarity, there is also a sense of strangeness. I'll go over and have a look too. Saying that, Yuhi Hong also disappeared from the spot. Since Mr. Kakashi didn't fight, it means that he is someone he knows. It seems to be a woman, I don't know what the situation is. Little Sakura said something like 8 trigrams. Why don't we go take a look together? Anyway, the battle above won't end for a while. Ino nodded and said, then go and have a look. So, little Sakura and Ino grabbed Hinata and rushed over, while Tenten followed behind them. Shikamaru and the others looked at each other, unable to contain their curiosity, and followed him. The closer Yuhi Hong gets, the stronger the familiar feeling becomes. But Yuhi Hong couldn't remember who this person was. Could it be someone I knew a long time ago? Yuhi Kurenai frowned and said. Soon, as she got closer, Yuhi Kurenai's eyes widened when she saw Kushina. That is, Kushina-sama. As the wife of the 4th Hokage, even if she does not know the identity of Kushina Jinchuriki, she is a very familiar figure to Kurenai Yuhi. No wonder this chakra gives her a familiar yet strange feeling. He is indeed a familiar yet strange person. Wait, Lord Kushina is resurrected? It looks completely different from the impure world reincarnation. What's going on? Yuhi Hong's head suddenly became confused. The resurrection of the dead is really crazy. Although she knew that Uchi, who was fighting Naruto, was resurrected from the dead. But that is Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara who possesses Rinnegan. How can Kushina be resurrected? Uchiha Madara will definitely not resurrect Kushina, and Uchiha Madara may not even know Kushina's existence. But speaking of Rinnegan, Yuhi Kurenai remembered that Naruto also has a Rinnegan now. Did Naruto resurrect Kushina-sama? Only Naruto can do such incredible things. Thinking that it might be Naruto's doing, Yuhi Hong's inner shock suddenly calmed down. In Naruto's hands, anything is possible.